Good evening, everyone. Shufflebus time. It's Tuesday night. Neil, how are you tonight?
Good.
Good, man. I
Chilling.
am. I am like travel lagged. I know I only flew forward 2 hours, but with the daylight savings time fallback on top of everything else, I'm just really off. And it feels like right now it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm kind of feeling like the afternoon slump. And I would normally just get a coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I can't right now. So, because if I have a coffee now, forget it. I won't go to bed tonight. So,
That would not be good.
so I'm just powering through on low energy, everybody. So I apologize. I'm trying to get there. Want to give a big shout out to Benjamin Triple D. I think BNJMNDDD, who followed us off stream 4 days ago. Thank you for that. That's super awesome, man. That's the reason we do this stuff is followers help us know that you're all enjoying what we put out there. So, can't say enough thanks for that. I will, just in time for some Tuesday tourney games. Yes, Cam, I will tell you that I lied on the Go Live notification. So if you're coming here off the Go Live notification, I'm sorry. It wasn't meant to be a clickbait title. It really wasn't. But I made the go live notification and started the stream up and then went to load up the pre-recorded game from Inquisitor and Shadowfire, and their game is nearly 2 hours long, and we are not going to get to that tonight. I just don't have time for a 5-hour stream tonight, chat. So I have given Inquisitor permission to take his game and post it. He can make his own commentary if he wants and post it to his own YouTube channel. If you haven't followed Inquisitor on YouTube yet, you should. He's Shufflebus champion, pretty good dude. Puts a lot of content out through the week, so lots of opportunity to maybe learn a few things from his play, and so feel free to go check out. I think it's called. Oh, it's not called. I promise you that, but it's Professional Dork on YouTube. Sorry, so. If you haven't done that yet, go do that. We give a little love to the Inquisitor here. The first game of the night is going to be Clue against, I think it's Ziziros. Is that right? This week? See, this is how prepared I am. It has been a day.
All I heard was Clue's game.
Yeah.
I don't know who the opponent is.
It's in there. I'm assuming you mean good stuff coming on there from Inquisitor? Yeah, for sure, man. And just as a reminder, again, I know there's been some confusion around the December and January switch on the Invitational. Since it's top of the show, we're more likely to see a few more people here now than maybe at the end of the show when we talked about it the last time. The Invitational has moved to January, what is it, 11th? 8th. January 8th. Yes. January 8th. Yep, January 8th. So I did get confirmation that Stefanos is coming out of hiding to play in it. So I'm super excited about that. I hope he brings Raimia again. I really do. I don't know. He's been playing Ashes in person and some FAB in person, so he may have something that he's been sneakily building up. He says he got a deck that his locals. We already have the good stuff happening. Yeah, I wish we had more time to put more content out than a couple of live streams every week. But man, it's a lot of work, and just keeping with that
It's hard to do anything else.
Yeah. So there's Ziziros. Yeah, it's Clue and Ziziros tonight. So let's take a look at. I can tell you about the Clue deck because I got my rocked by it in round one. It's a super cool deck.
This is the Stream Age deck. Yeah, this deck's cool.
So Ziziros is on Xander as well. So we've got a Xander off. Can he play play it in the time limits? I don't know, Cam. I really don't know. That's for Stefanos to figure out. I don't think our season 1 finale was too terribly long though. So I'd have to go back and look at that on our YouTube channel. But I would imagine that it's playable within time for sure. I mean, it's in a really aggressive mill, so it's not a sit back and passively win off of owls and orchid doves dying kind of thing. It does have those things, but it also has abundance and purge and all kinds of craziness. So I think it does have the ability to go pretty quick.
I
All right.
think the tempo of those games is based upon your opponent, not on the Rhaenyra. Like
Sure.
the Rhaenyra plays to their opponent.
Right. All right. So Xander from Ziziros has got a cheeky Sacred Ground. This looks a lot like what was it? Season 1's Bill's deck, the Gauntlet list. Do you remember when we were kind of testing that? He's added a power through in here, and he's got I think it had power through before. He's changed out to hunting weapons. With all the allies, hunting weapons is probably pretty good in this list.
I think it's fine. It's definitely better than power through.
Yeah.
Like obviously he can have like the one of power through or whatever, because he has polarity mage. Like
and can put it on Sarasaurus and get like hunt damage kind of potential with double overkill if you really want to, if you can really pressure that.
Right. Play. I assume that's mostly what it like. You like don't play it. You just like if there's an opportunity that you can win off it, you like polarity mage and play it. But
right. So Clue has got the string mage.
The string mage thing is so sweet.
The small sack string mage, yeah. It's really awesome.
Just string mage everything. Like I found that card very difficult to deal with when I was playing. Like I played against this deck in testing a lot. Just because he was always on at the time of the day that I was on before the tournament. So the string mage also has good synergy with Earthquake.
Yeah. For sure. I hadn't considered Earthquake or Nature's Wrath as how synergistic string mage is with those cards.
that was the dumbest thing ever was in one of the games we played, I remember this specifically in the last round of the game, I just like slammed a Grave Knight with a root armor on it, thinking that like that was going to be good enough and it was going to kill him. But he played Earthquake, and then you can actually kill it with the string mage because the string mage moves the damage, doesn't deal the damage.
Right.
So it took 3 from the Earthquake, and then 1 from the string mage and died.
That's wild. I hadn't considered that, but you're right. String mage does get past the armor components for sure.
It's a sweet one, man.
Yeah. So we're gonna be on these double Xanders here. Just about 20 minutes away from that game happening. Then you're gonna get the bus off tonight. Somebody called it the Orrick in chat today. I thought that was pretty cute. So Orrick on Orrick action.
There's definitely been Orrick mirrors prior to this in this season
for sure.
I played one already actually.
And you probably have a leg up in understanding how to fight.
Maybe I didn't. Maybe I just watched it. I don't remember.
You probably have a leg up on me just in general.
Well, I mean, anybody that calls this a mirror match is just wrong. It's not even close to a mirror. Like
right.
People that say that just because you have the same Phoenix point as a mirror are wrong. That's not true. So our decks are extremely different.
I agree.
So I don't really. I mean, I've spent some time thinking about this because that's what I do with my matchups. But I wouldn't consider this a mirror match at all.
I have spent exactly this much time, you and I, talking right now about it. Because I was on vacation. So I didn't get to spend any time vacation considering it. But Oregon was nice, man. I'm telling you, that's a beautiful state. And
it's cool up there. I've spent some time in Washington.
So I have never been to Oregon or Washington. I've been close, like Vancouver in British Columbia, but just never actually come down into the States from that area or worked in that area. I mean, I flew into the Seattle airport, but I don't think that really counts. The thing that I was surprised about was how much, like where we were at was in Central Oregon, and it's on the backside of the Crystal Cascade mountain range. And so it doesn't really, that area doesn't get any rain. It's like desert.
That's interesting.
It's really strange. So they get like not a whole lot of snow and not a whole lot of rain. They just like kind of stay temperate. It's kind of like Denver, right? It's kind of very similar to Denver in that respect. And it sits at about 4,000 feet up, so it's kind of higher elevation. Not as high as obviously Denver is. Denver's about another 1,000 feet or so. But the weather just passes over the top of it. So like when we showed up on Friday, the mountaintops, there was no snow on the mountaintops at all. Like it was completely bone dry. By the time we left, it was all white up there. I mean, it had been snowing the whole time we were there, and we just didn't see it at all. We like made one trip up the mountain a little ways just to get to like this waterfalls place, and it was snowing while we were doing that, and that's the only time I saw snow the whole time. So it was cool. I really like that area a lot. It reminds me so much of like Frisco and Colorado, but it's way cheaper to live there than Frisco. So that's a benefit, like big time benefit. It's amazing how much it costs now to live in Colorado these days. So that makes me sad because I kind of always hope to retire to the mountains, and I don't think that's going to happen anymore with the way that it works.
You decided to like build a couple large businesses in Lincoln and not in the mountains, so
yeah. But I mean, like you have that retirement plan where like you're going to get done with work, and you're like, all right, once we're all done with work, what can we do? And I mean, it's insane. I was looking at houses in Frisco about 2 or 3 months ago.
Unfortunately, like the entire housing market everywhere right now is very expensive, and
yes, it is.
And specifically those parts of the United States are worse.
But it's like 600 square feet in Frisco is 1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
That's nuts. That's I could never the Nebraskan in me says that you're just getting taken.
Yeah, I mean,
I could build like a 8,000 square foot home in Nebraska for that money. I mean, like you can build a mansion here for 1.5. So it's kind of crazy. It's really crazy. But anyways, all right. So at least the word retirement is still my vocabulary. Oh well, I don't. Have you ever owned a business, Inquisitor? We talk a lot about retirement when you're in a business, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen. Like, there's a lot of pieces that have to fall into place to make that happen, for sure. There is no such thing as a 401k as a business owner. I'm just going to put it out there. That's all in your business investment. So it's just kind of, we'll see. I hope. Maybe I'll get lucky and get to retire. Maybe I won't. You never know. So anyways, we got a draft going on that like kind of sporadically kicked off on Friday. That was unexpected. I was cool to see it happen. I'm excited about that. I know that Matt and I mutually agreed to concede our finals match from season 2. So I think the running joke now is that we both took last place. We tied for last because of it. So that's fair. The new draft started up almost immediately on Friday, and it's been a lot of fun. There's a lot of decision points that go into draft, and I am writing a blog on my decisions. Trying to. I've got up through my 3rd round pick taken care of in terms of writing at this point, but I think we just made our 5th round picks, so some of those are probably going to get a little messy in my brain just because the draft's moving a little faster now. So, but it's good. I kind of had a plan, and that plan has kind of sort of come together. It didn't come together as well as I'd hoped. And so now I'm kind of in a awkward, like trying to pivot without making it obvious that I'm pivoting. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So the Orric match from tonight, we can talk about that for just a little bit, Neil, if you want. Your Orric list is obviously very different than mine. I mean, I think the only things that are similar between yours and my list are the bear and the butterfly monk. Everything out in concentration, of course. Everything else outside of that is pretty.
Yeah, I mean, we both have in flame. We both have dispel. You have Mist Typhoon, where I have Nature's Wrath, but that's very similar. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm going to first 5 yet, even.
Yeah. I can understand why that would be true, because like I'm not sure what to pick for my 5 against you either.
When I was building my list, the like Hounds was just not anything on the radars at all. So I just don't have a plan for it. We'll see if I'll make the best plan I can and see if it works. But that I didn't, there were specific things that I was putting answers in here for, and this was not one of them. So I'm not sure it's going to happen. But
well, Hound is basically a giant 1/1 for all intents and purposes if you can deal with it the turn it comes into play. So it's got its own set of issues.
Right.
Obviously, it's not an actual 1/1, but
right. I'm the single one I'm not worried about. I have plenty of ways to deal with the 1 life guy, even if I can't target it. And I think that it's probably trading pretty close to even when you have it focused once.
Yeah.
But when you have it focused twice, then I think I'm SOL.
Yeah, it tends to be where this deck has survived my matches is the matches where I've at least focused it once or focused it twice. Where I've been to 2-2. My 0-2 game, I did get it focused early, but I couldn't overcome 6 AoEs. The 3 EQs and 3 Nature's Wraths. No matter how hard I tried, I just didn't have, even with the 3 Particle Shields and 3 Fate Reflex. It's just not possible to have those always perfectly lined up and on time. So it makes it difficult. But that's why you play the games. You never know how it's going to shake out exactly. And I mean, it's very possible you could get to concentration faster than me because we're both on dispels here. So it's possible you awaken sooner than I do, and that's enough of a difference maker. And the one of Molten Gold can be a huge factor for you as well. I do have my 1 Molten as well. We're very
right. I mean, both of those things are equal. So
yeah. It's just going to be a matter of the timing of when that happens. I think. I honestly think it's going to come down to who awakens first.
That's the awakened state on your side is much more impactful than the one on mine.
Sure.
Because they can't shoot the 3/1s. If you attack with the 3/1s or whatever, I guess I get to shoot them, but I can never move them out of the way. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, it'll be a fun match. I'm excited.
I never games. I think it's just going to be who draws the most cards.
I will say I get sad when I have to play you in a tournament setting. Not because I don't want to play you. It's because I want us both to do well, and there's a sense of well, one of us is not going to do as well as the other now because one of us is going to knock the other person out.
It's just the nature of playing card games, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you remember? You remember Scott and Dan playing just essentially war to decide who stayed in the top 8 or whatever because they wouldn't draw.
Yeah.
That that's a feels bad. This doesn't feel that bad to me. I hope I crush you.
Here I am over here I'm sad that we have to play and you're I just want to ruin your night. Typical Neil for you, everybody.
Yeah, I'm I root for you when you're not playing against me. I don't
Fair
know.
Enough.
It's Fair just enough. You're just when we talk about these tournament games, if I ever talk about any of my opponents, I'm going to try to beat you, right?
Sure.
I don't think it's fair to not do that. I'm going to try to play it. I was talking, I don't know if it was online or on stream or not, when I played against the Fallen deck. I can't remember who it is in one of my rounds. And I just gave him no blood points.
Sure.
And I could have given him some blood points, but and honestly, after the fact, I figured out that I should have given him blood points. I still think you're incentivized to give blood points to your good matchups and try to play to not give blood points to your bad matchups.
And
it's not it's probably a 0.01% increase in your tournament to do that, but if you're playing perfectly, that's what you should do probably. And you feel kind of bad, but it's not he played bad.
No.
That's just a horrible matchup.
Right. that happens.
I actually made more 1/1s than him, and then I awakened, and then his 1/1s were even more useless. Right. So like that's just a bad matchup for him. So you get annihilated, and like you shouldn't feel bad. Just think about the play mistakes you made or didn't make, and how it went, and like. It sucks that we're playing or whatever, but it was bound to happen.
It was no doubt.
We're not big enough yet that we're going to dodge each other unless our records are very different.
Right. No, I agree. And I don't think that, based on yours and my records this season, that either one of us at X2 is going to, end up in a top 8 cut bubble. Like, I just don't think that our strength of schedule is going to be strong.
There's like 1 or 2 X2s that are going to make it, right?
I think it's 3. Maybe 3 or 4.
I don't know what Matt's record is, but I lost to Matt and I lost the other Odette.
So, just looking at it right now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 3-1s. So you're probably going to end up with at least 5 4-2s, and then from there, it's 4 4-2s for top cut, is what Shadowfire said. So most likely you're gonna have Philly, Bill, and JK. They're gonna sort out, and then there's gonna be one pair down for one of those guys. I don't know who gets the pair down.
It's really too bad that there's no draws. I know that makes this game weird because it's not exactly like we're not a pro tour or something, but the draws really make the player's incentive much more clear for how the breakers are going to fall, because
right now on the 2-2s, the highest ranked Orric on 2-2 is Neil Leonard III, and he's got a 62.5% opponent set win percentage, so he's way up there. But Carl's 2-2 at 68.75, but has lost the head-to-head to Neil. So those two guys are holding a really high number of opponent set win percentages, and the
head-to-head is after the opponent's percentage, though, right?
No, the first break is head-to-head, and then it's opponent set win percentage. Head-to-head always beats out for tie break. So then
that seems not good.
Then Asterix and Underrug Swept and Skak and DG Denver all have 56.25% set win percentage. So they're slightly higher than us right now, and beating me is going to lower you, because you and I are 50%. I have to
question this head-to-head thing. How can head-to-head be ahead of opponent percentage?
Why not?
Okay, so let's say you, me, and Carl are all 4-2 or whatever it is to get in, and I have the lowest opponent breaker. And Carl has the middle one, and you have the best one, but I beat you. So does that make me ahead of Carl, even though his breakers are better than mine? Because I've created a loop there now.
No, because the head-to-head says, all the head-to-head checks is, did you and Carl play, and did one of you beat each other? If so, then you're above Carl. If not...
Right, so Carl and I didn't play.
So then your head-to-head is equal to Carl. It's 0. Your head-to-head is equal.
What I'm saying is that in this situation that I set up, I am ahead of you. You're ahead of Carl. Carl's ahead of me.
Right, but not on all the breakers. So it's only on So the first breaker says, "Did you play me? Yes, then you're ahead of me. If you beat me."
Right, I'm taking that into account. I've created a loop where it doesn't work, and Carl says head-to-head should only come into play in head-to-head sweeps. What does that mean?
I don't know what head-to-head sweeps are, but
it should only if you're perfectly tied, right? Well, yeah, see, it should be after opponent win percentage, because it doesn't work otherwise. You can create these loops that one person, I should be ahead of you, you should be ahead of Carl, Carl should be ahead of me.
Well, I'm going to say this publicly to everybody. I publish all of the rules, and nobody says anything until all of a sudden somebody's on the bubble. So this is the way it is for this season. We can look at it for next. That's the way it's been all 5 seasons.
Well,
literally all 5 seasons I've had head-to-head second break.
I guess it hasn't come up then, but it's very possible that you could get this where you won't be able to tell who should be in first.
No, because if the head-to-heads are tied, meaning that Leonard III has head-to-head over Carl. Okay, so Leonard gets a position over Carl in this scenario. Then the next tiebreaker comes into place. So Carl is being beat by that. Now, Asterix doesn't have a head-to-head on Carl. So then opponent's set win is compared for Asterix and Carl. And Carl beats Asterix on opponent's set win percentage. And if you beat somebody in three-way ties, then the third tiebreak is going to be opponent's set win percentage and how well you played against other opponents and how strong your opponent's matchups were. So you're getting an advantage over the player you actually beat. You're not going to lose a space to somebody you actually beat. It'd feel a lot worse if you were to say, "Oh yeah, Carl played stronger opponents through the whole thing, and even though I beat Carl head to head, he's going to have a place up on me." Yeah, it's everyone you tied. It's no, the head to head is only for the people you have directly played. If you guys are equal on the primary score, so like you and Neil are both 2-2, you and Leonard are both 2-2.
So this is what I'm telling you. So let's say
it's working exactly as intended right now.
Right, Leonard the third. I'm saying this is a possibility that could break it, and if it has been this way every season, we just haven't hit that possibility.
But then you have the fourth tiebreak of blood points. So if you're still tied at that point,
but you won't still be tied. I'm telling you that there is a clear "I'm better than you, you're better than Carl, Carl's better than me" before going to blood points. Like I'll write it down for you because I think it'll make more sense visually. But this is definitely possible. Let me find something here.
Again, I'll state it. The rules are publicly posted for every tournament. If people choose not to read them and then discuss them, then I can't do anything about that. They have been used in every single Shufflebus for 5 seasons now. Can you explain how to have it's literally the play if you played that player directly and you have a similar Swiss record. So the first tie break is Swiss record. So if you both have the same Swiss record, let's say coming out of Swiss you're both 4-2. Then the first tie break says the first person to get a seed in that position will be the person that has played that person head to head. So it only comes into play for those players that have actually played against each other in terms of changing the position of their ranking. Otherwise, the head-to-head is 0 against anybody that has been unplayed, and this strength of schedule is used. That's exactly right, Cam. Cam says it exactly. X plays Y, and whoever wins that is placed higher. So it only impacts the matchups where the two players are exactly the same in Swiss record. And only those two players position. Nobody else in that sequence. All right, so they are getting ready here. So we're gonna.
I sent you the thing, so you should try to rank these players when we get a chance.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so we are getting first 5 selected here. Ziziros and Clue both on Xander here. Ziziros is the Xander on the top of your screen. Clue is the Xander on the bottom of your screen. All right, so it looks like Ziziros rolls 5 basics, Clue's 0. So Clue is just out of the gates with a no basic roll round 1. Looks like Ziziros is choosing to go first. Yeah, that's an extremely good roll. Ziziros is going to go first here.
So I mean, these decks are going to start out pretty similar, right? They're just going to like play their books.
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to get right out of the gate here a Salamander Monk. And see a meditation from Ziziros as well here. Looks like, how did the string mage in the discard? Did Xander just go ahead and first 5 that and then discard it to draw an extra card? I kind of like that. That's cheeky.
Yeah, he discarded 1 card from his hand.
That's awesome.
That's a strange play. I guess it's a little it's better when to do something like that in open deck lists where you know that it's like this game, unless something goes really crazy, is not going to go to decking.
Right.
So it's a lot safer to do that. It's interesting. Maybe he thinks like round 2 string mage is like very important, and it's worth 3 dice.
Yeah. So we do see a Ziziros answer or Clue answer with his own Salamander Monk. So Ziziros goes ahead and plays Salamander Monk. I'm sure we'll see that same play from Clue. I kind of like it. I mean, I kind of like the Xander play just because the 6th card is valuable enough with, it's potentially possible that you can still, depending on what your Thunder number is for your first 5, you may still be able to afford to make that String Mage a 3-cost unit and still play a card that you draw from your deck on a high probability. I certainly don't know Clue's deck well enough to know if that's true.
It doesn't seem like that's very probable. He has like, I guess, a lot of 1 dice stuff, but it like I wouldn't count on it. I think this is probably just like he wants it in round 2. It's it doesn't seem like 3 dice string mage is where you want to be in round 1. So he's just like saving it up.
Yeah, it's possible. I'm not sure. I'll have to. We'll have to see how this all shakes out. So there's the Ceratosaurus mount from the Ziziros. From Ziziros, we expected that. Obviously,
Ziziros is. I guess he has like a bunch of things. It's like Herder, Polarity Mage, Anchor Knot. Those are all mountable things.
And he's got a hunting weapon. So if he does have a first 5 Polarity Mage, it's a nice answer here. It does met up.
I assume that it's a Raptor. Bear. Like,
yeah.
And yeah, so we see the Frostback Bear after he plays Ceratosaurus. Obviously not worried about this attack from the Salamander right now. Like, he doesn't need a guy in play to
obviously Xander's 20 health, like taking 1 damage from a Salamander Monk is probably just fine. So
yeah.
All right, so we're back to Ziziros here. I imagine. Does the Clue player have? Does Clue have Ice Trap? That would be a pretty good first 5 card.
No.
Here. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the danger of mounts, right? Like, especially in open deck list tournament, you like just get to start your Ice Trap against them, and
absolutely, yeah.
And I mean, you play the game of like, you trade a dice for a dice probably, and then they get 2 extra dice in the round to play with. So like, you don't automatically win that trade, but you usually do.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, so there's
the Herder, and I'm sure we'll just see the immediate Ceratosaurus on this Raptor just to avoid any shenanigans.
Yep,
with that small sacrifice there. So. Although small sacrifice being a main action probably isn't fast enough to respond to mounts that way.
Carl makes a good point that like because it's Xander specifically, the ice trap is less good because you give them like even if they've calculated out to perfect first 10 dice or whatever, that Ceresaurus easily can become Xander back at herder, play herder again.
Right. So now we're gonna see the string mage
So
come in here.
He did make the 3 dice string mage.
Yep.
That
I really thought he was probably going to. Make Salamander.
So that leaves him with 2 dice for these last 2 cards.
Yep. Yep.
I mean that's possible.
Does he play Fire Archer?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got a couple. I mean, it's probably, I don't know. One of them's probably Raptor Herder. Maybe it's Raptor Herder Fire Archer.
So obviously, when I played Clue, the matchup was very different, and he didn't start his string mage small sacrifice because he knew how difficult the hound was going to be on the mage. So
well, yeah, I mean, it does nothing against you, right? Like,
right.
It can't move the damage to the hound, and the hound just kills it. So
what do we have? He could be on Sleeping Widows for one of his cards, like his last 2.
But then he can't play all things.
He can play Bear, Salamander, Small Sacrifice, and Sleeping Widow.
And then you'd have a card left in hand.
Yeah, but the card's the one he drew randomly anyways, right? Potentially.
I suppose, yeah, maybe, I guess. I don't... If you're not going to play it, I don't understand the discard. Because you just cost yourself a Divine Dice then. For no reason. So here's a Sonic Swordsman. Okay.
Sonic with root armor. Well, it's going to take a long time for that mage to get there on a root armored Sonic.
Yeah, I mean, this means that the Earthquake doesn't kill it with 1 Earthquake. That'll put it at 4 of 5.
Right.
So maybe that's good enough. It can't tangle with this bear. But I like the root armor again if you think he's going to start small sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Clue is ready to windmill slam that Earthquake, and then.
So you probably still can, right? Because if you windmill slam the Earthquake, and you do 3, you move a damage. Matt's asking questions like, "What? I missed the attack. Looks like just a Ceresaurus swing. Why not swing with Monkey Raptor?"
Right. I agree that you should send the squad. I mean, I guess the issue with that is that Salamander gets blocked by String Mage, and you give him a free gunshot.
If your best removal here is to remove the bear, remove the swordsman, is it best to attack bear into swordsman and force the Xander guard at this point, or see if your opponent's going to go ahead and take?
The Xander is already guarded.
No, well, Ziziros hasn't. I'm talking about into the swordsman, because then you could get the alert block swordsman, and then the swordsman would take 1 damage. That does shore up the math for EQ and.
The mage would be exhausted and can't move it then if it blocks. So yeah, I agree. I think you should have attacked with all 3 because they're just not going to do anything on the back end.
So I was I mean I don't know what you're kind of in a pickle here one way or the other, right? So now with the guard forced, the Sonic is going to kill the string mage and exhaust the bear. I mean, there's really not any way around that.
Yeah, and Matt said that also in chat that the reason was he wanted to force the PB guard before the Sonic came into play. Right. So that's good play.
So he just takes out the Raptor hatchling.
Yeah, and we'll see a side action damage. Yeah, interesting that he put it there. He may
have the Fester. I don't
even know if he has Fester in his deck. He does not have Fester in his deck. So I I guess with the 1 damage on it now, the Earthquake does kill it.
No, it doesn't. It's 1 short because of the 5 life on the root armor.
Yeah, but then you move the damage, like you'll be main action Earthquake, side action, move your damage off of.
Yeah, but Swordsman's get to attack and the PB guard's down, so the Swordsman's going to kill the String Mage.
Oh, the String Mage is going to die, yeah, or get exhausted.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bear's going to get exhausted here. I think he would have been better off probably putting at least the 1 on Sarasaurus or Salamander Monk just to get the spirit. Like, I mean, I don't know what else you're going to do with that spirit in the first place, I guess.
Yeah, so. This is just like so much pressure from the
Ziziros?
From the Ziziros, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Just an insane amount of pressure. Yeah, that swordsman is gonna. That swordsman is gonna be a problem until he draws second small sacrifice, I think. Because he's really never going to be able to set up the Earthquake plus String Mage again.
It's going to be awful hard. That Root Armored Swordsman is probably here to stay for this matchup.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the other Xander deck. He does have Fester in his deck.
We do see a pass though, so.
So I think that he has his random drawn an Earthquake in hand.
Certainly looks like Ziziros is in a pretty commanding lead from this particular structure.
He's definitely up a bunch of dice for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible to see Clue come back from this for sure. I mean, he's certainly got answers.
He has to Fester the Swordsman essentially, like, which isn't even that easy to do because of the root armor.
Well, he's definitely gonna have to use EQ on him just to turn on the Fester, right? So it's going to be 3 dice.
Or just like get it to battle with the bear. He has a single blood chains, but that's like not a great way to deal with it either.
So it's fine. See, Salamander attack the Sarasaurus. This would indicate to me a potential Fester.
I think if he has a Fester, he cannot afford to Fester the Sarasaurus. He has to figure out a way to put a damage on the other guy. Does he have a crescendo? So this is probably a crescendo to me.
Seems likely we are in a reaction window where he's thinking about it for sure.
If he crescendos plus Fester next turn, like he'll take 3 damage. His bear will die or he'll take 3 damage, and he'll be able to Fester the knight. I assume that if a crescendo hits the knight here, that
doesn't crescendo. No. Just lets
and he just took the PB guard. Interesting.
That's a really good. I mean, like it's about as good as you can ask for on getting an early PB guard, right? Like a Salamander Monk attack like that into an early PB guard. Yeah, I don't know why you would guard
I don't think that's a good guard. It's even if he has the Fester, like he's not going to Fester your Sarasaur. That's the only thing I could possibly think him playing around. And even if he has the like, even if Clue's on the plan of festering it, it just attacks him, and he takes 3 or kills a bear or whatever.
Yeah, you can actually use the Sarasaurus mount here to pressure Xander guard again by attacking the Frostback bear with your own Sarasaurus. I mean, like,
yeah, the beginning of this round has played out very strangely. I think that you should have I think the attack should have been with bear at something. Because now the bear is going to get attacked and you're going to have to guard it or it's going to die. And then you essentially have to guard the.
Yep. So there's the Sarasaurus attacking.
Yeah. See, and this attack is good now. And and he doesn't guard it because he knows that he has to guard the swordsman.
This does allow the Sarasaurus to get eaten up by the Earthquake if he is holding that Earthquake from last round like we thought.
Right. I mean,
Not that that matters a ton.
This wasn't terrible because he did get the damage out of the bear to where it's pretty meaningful because of Earthquake specifically.
Right.
But
Ziziros meditates Polarity Mage to bring up a nature die. That will pressure the new Salamander Monk if it comes into play here. You know, you've got an opportunity if you're Ziziros to like reestablish the String Mage here after you get rid of the Swordsman.
Yeah, I guess with the Ceratosaurus tapped, well, you have to do it like right now. Because if he plays an ally, then you'll never get a chance again.
So we see Ziziros meditating a double frog here.
But you're right. If String Mage is his go-to plan, then he should do it here. If he's got better stuff to do in hand, then he should do those things.
Well,
but
yeah,
if we go past this juncture, his String Mage won't be useful. Does String Mage take a horse? Yeah, okay, so he can't even do it because he doesn't have a horse.
So you're gonna make a Salamander Monk. I guess what you can do is if you go Ceratosaurus if you attack the Ceratosaurus with your Salamander Monk here, you get a chance to eat
I don't even think that's
the Raptor
good.
off of EQ. If they play Raptor, you can EQ into the Raptor herder and kill it. But I'm sure
I guess if you're worried about the Raptor, I just like my plan would not be to worry about the Raptor under Ceratosaurus since he has 5 cards in hand and 10 dice. Like,
well, and that would also be making the assumption that Ziziros doesn't want to remount the Raptor immediately, which is probably going to happen anyway. So
right, and I was wrong about the String Mage thing. He could meditate into horse here and do it next turn, assuming that Ziziros doesn't play an ally.
Yeah,
because he'll have one. He has 1 guard to block for it.
There's an anchor
and that doesn't count. Oh wait, no, it does count. So now he can't do it anymore because he can make a Ceratosaur and crack.
Yeah. I would imagine if you're going to do anything here, you small sack your Salamander Monk, kill the Anchor Knot if he doesn't mount it immediately here.
Right. I think he will because of that.
Yeah, and he does mount immediately. So we got a double Ceratosaur Sonic board for Ziziros clues on a Monk, Exhausted Monk, and a Monk Spirit that can't block. Certainly staring down the barrel here.
Yeah, this is a game where Ceratosaurus has been really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times I am underwhelmed by Ceratosaurus just because of the mount aspect, but essentially we're just looking at like battlefield pressure only as like the only axis this game is being played on. So his 3/3s are just better than 2/3s and 1/1s or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're definitely not going to be able to play a Frostback Bear into this board, right? Like there's just
I mean, you're gonna have to kind of because you just don't have another choice. So here's an Earthquake.
So we do get the Earthquake.
Probably targeting the new dinosaur.
Yep. I do like that target because it really
targeting the Sonic literally does nothing.
Right.
So this at least it kills a big threat that hasn't attacked and it cleans up the board a little bit. The reason the Ceratosaurs are so impactful in this game is that they're not the best thing in play. That's the thing that I think is like the fallout of Ceratosaurus is that a lot of times because it's like a lot of work to get him into play with the mount, the Ceratosaurus becomes like your core guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just is the target for all the removal and you get kind of 2-for-1 because of the mounting. But when he has this giant swordsman in play, like this is the big threat that Clue is worried about and will spend most of his good cards on this, I assume. And therefore, like the Ceratosaurus get to run wild. In this case, it was kind of the reverse where like he doesn't have an answer to swordsman, so he is spending stuff on the Ceratosaurus, but you still have a swordsman. So I think like that's where Ceratosaurus is good, is if you get to like stick Ceratosaurus plus an additional threat.
If you're Clue at this point, do you make a bear and want the Sonic to eat your bear and just try to stick that one damage through the armor so you can fester, if potentially possible. Ziziros does meditate his own Earthquake away here, makes another Salamander Monk.
Yeah, the Earthquakes on the Ziziros side don't really mean anything right now.
Right.
I think you make bear just because you like have to use your cards effectively, and you have resigned yourself to taking 3 from this swordsman. Like that's going to happen, unless something bonkers happens like in this turn that is totally unforeseen.
Sure.
I think that if he had drawn second small sacrifice, it would have been in play by now. So there's really nothing to force this swordsman to do anything. So he can make bear. The swordsman will attack bear. If you have the fester, you let the bear counter. If you don't have the fester, you Xander block. If you have another unit in play, you have to like Xander block anyway, so you don't get Sonic pulsed. Because now he can kind of only have good units in play since the Salamander is dead. I guess he has like Fire Archer. You could play like a Fire Archer and you wouldn't care if that got Sonic pulsed, but this is why Knights will always be good regardless of the format, because it'll just be games like this where you get to stick one and it's so good. Like, and this is why decks will still have a 1 of root armor all the time. Like,
right.
And until there's like a guy that comes into play and kills it, that would be playable, All
right. So we do see the double Monk Spirit, and the Sonic still hasn't committed to an attack yet, which makes sense.
The Sonic is going to wait because he knows he can get the damage through the Sonic. Again, we're like in a situation where if he could deal with Sonic, he would have tried to do it already. So I would feel pretty safe if I had this Sonic in play. I mean, attacking for 3 doesn't even put him in danger yet because Xander has so much life. There's just no reason not to save it back until the Prospect Bear is made.
What's interesting from Ziziros' perspective is he still has 6 cards in hand.
Right. He's
not spent any cards from hand yet, and he's spent 4 dice. So, like,
right, you're just seeing the. This is okay. I mean, you needed a 3 dice unit essentially to do anything this turn, so.
Yeah, it's got a chance here because the Huntmaster can Spirit Guide the Panther Spirit into the Swordsman to get that 1 damage if you are holding a Fester. But
yeah, I mean, we might just see an Earthquake from the other side here.
He did meditate away 1 for sure, so he could still have another one.
Yeah, he's still like 50-50 to have 1 in hand, I think. He's got 20 cards, so it's 1 in 10. So just a little bit better than 50-50.
You mean a little worse than 50-50, right? Because it'd be 1 in 10, and he's only got 6 cards in hand.
Right, so 5 would be 50-50 if it's 1 in 10.
There's a Hunting Weapons.
Ooh. Oh, God.
This is pretty nasty right here.
Kapow! And he's just going to the dome. He doesn't even care about the Sonic pulls. He's going to kill that Panther and
he's going to crescendo the Huntmaster on top of that.
And he's got a crescendo too. He's just like throwing all his cards on the table and look what I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty brutal.
That's pretty rough.
I'm pretty sure he was winning if he just attacked Ziziros.
No, I think
like if he just attacked Huntmaster with Sonic, I think he was still winning. This is just like putting him in the dirt.
This is definitely taking over and controlling.
This is something that maybe we should report to Dejan, because I bet what happened was like the
crescendo interrupted it.
Well, it either worked correctly and he clicked on his Sonic Swordsman as the prompt for hunting weapons, and it didn't do a damage because he has armor 1. And that's like very likely because when it asks you to do crescendo, hunting weapons can't even hit the Sonic. It only has opponent's control. So
yeah,
I think probably what happened is that the window that opened for hunting weapons, the Crescendo like overwrote somehow. Because they should trigger at the same time.
Yeah, but I think the Widow's was interrupting the hunting weapons because he had a Widow's reaction. So what I think happened was opponent.
Oh yeah.
Um,
well, it depends on if he Widows off the Panther or not.
Well, he did. He widowed off of the.
No, because they moved that one manually.
Right.
Yeah, it was just the reaction from both sides. The hunting weapons was probably waiting for the Widows to finish.
Correct. That's what I was getting at there. It was ultimately that because the opponent had a reaction window.
Which is a small misplay from Clue, I think, and not really a misplay because it's probably just like Ashteki interface that caused it. But you should definitely not Widows off of the Crescendo. You should Widows off of the hunting weapons hitting your Panther, because if you do it off the Crescendo, then you can hunting weapons your Spider.
So what would be the purpose of Widows into Sonic when you have no ceremonial dice left? I guess you could small sack, small sack's not even going to do anything, so...
He can't small sacrifice, yeah.
So the best he can do is stick 1 damage through Widow's Bear?
Yeah,
after recovery? And dig for a Fester?
Yeah, I don't know what that attack was either.
It brings an Anchornaut back. That's going to definitely...
Oh, yeah. If Carl's right that if he has Earthquake as his last card, which we think he does, the second Widows kills it. But now the Earthquake will...
Well, he can still get it with Bear, but he can't make the Earthquake. But the interesting thing is like, he already played an Earthquake, so I don't think he has second Earthquake. Unless he had it in his top 5. It's kind of the
only thing that makes sense.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Clue passes here, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, once his second Spider gets Anchor-knotted, then you're...
So I guess we do find out if there's an EQ here.
If he has an Earthquake now, he has to...
Yeah.
Play it, kind of.
EQ will get in for 3, taking him to 4, so he'll recover down to 2. I guess it puts you in a position where you might be able to get there.
Yeah, so it is an Earthquake. Yep. And so the plan was definitely like Spider attack to finish the thing off, but now you have to do it just because it's so much card advantage. And you save yourself 3 damage.
Yeah. Plus Ziziros was going top of round, so I mean you were gonna get hit pretty hard again at the top of the round here, possibly.
He didn't showboat the frog ping his swordsman pass. Just like to rub it in.
Lethal on board, yeah. There was lethal on board, Cam, you're right, before that last Earthquake. So so the swordsman does stick with a little bit of damage.
Yeah, I guess the Spider doesn't get to block because of the hunting weapons. If they just went top around. So he's very likely to have a Fester now. Even so, I don't think you're supposed to...
You don't think you're supposed to Fester the swordsman?
I don't think you're supposed to attack with swordsman here, is what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. Well,
you definitely are supposed to Fester it.
Yeah.
But he just wants the 4 damage. Maybe that's good enough when he's at 10.
I was like, I can't believe you're going to say that he's not supposed to Fester that swordsman. That does not seem correct.
I would be greedy because if he doesn't have the Fester, that swordsman is just going to literally kill every unit he plays. So
I think at this point you're so far ahead of your Ziziros here that you can kind of make that attack and not worry about whether or not the swordsman does anything else for the round. I know you're not necessarily ahead on board any longer in comparison, but your opponent's out of 2 Earthquakes already. You're still holding potentially an Earthquake yourself, right? And a few other things. So we do see a double blocker made here with Raptor Herder Hatchling. I'm sure that's what that's going to amount to. My question would be...
He doesn't need a blocker right now. He does have to put something in play for a small sacrifice to work.
Mm-hmm.
The double units are good at that because you can't remove both before small sacrifice get turned on.
Mm-hmm. It's a brave move when your opponent's holding triple frog dice and just goes into fourth frog dice here. Because
I mean, it's potential. Yeah, I think we're just going to see 2 Molten Golds this round. If you have double Molten Gold in hand, then attacking as a swordsman is obviously correct. Yeah. He does have 2 Molten Golds in his deck.
Could he have them both here? He certainly meditated into it like he does.
Well,
here's second.
He was about 50-50 to have one.
Yep, there it is.
He was like,
there it is.
1 and 3 to have the second one.
And like that, on the back of double Molten Gold.
Just like so many games.
It's amazing how much reach Molten Gold gives you in shortening the span of a game down. But that was an extremely wild game, just in general. Like there was.
It was like, and he did have the second small sacrifice. I think that you should play second small sacrifice before the Raptor Herder. Usually, because you were in a situation where, like, even if he made a Sarasaur, you still could have made a blocker before he could attack with it because he didn't have the ally in play yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it just, that Root Armored Knight was just good enough, right? Like, it just got him. And the attack that we were talking about in round 1 that took the Phoenixborn Guard, that was just good play because as soon as the Phoenixborn Guard is gone and you play Sonic Swordsman, you're just crushing your opponent.
Right. I think my question is, and I'm sure that Clue will go back and ask that of himself as well, but it feels like the best choice of action here would have been anticipating the Root Armor as being like the worst thing that could happen to you and having a Fester in your first 5.
Well, he made the comment in the chat that he forgot about the 1 life part.
Sure.
So if you think it's just armor, like, you're wrong, unfortunately. But then it's okay to just have String Mage plus Earthquake because that will kill it. But like, to your point, if you think that Root Armored Knight is going to be in the first 5, like, you can start a Fester, sure.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on the String Mage plan.
Right. Because you're just going to have a million ways to get that 1 point of damage on there from String Mage. And you're really in a position. I think he's supposed to let. Also, I think Clue will go back and realize he's supposed to let that first attack eat his bear from the Sarasaur instead of guarding it.
Right. If you're planning on Earthquaking that turn, it's okay for you to just let bear die and counter the Sarasaur. Because the Earthquake will pick up the Sarasaurus for you.
Yeah, I mean, and we've seen a lot of games end in Molten Gold. It's amazing to me with how much stuff happens in Molten Gold land that we don't see more Vanish play in general.
Well, because that's not how you beat that, right? Like the Molten Gold didn't win that game. It had no effect on that game. He could have closed that game out with anything. To Carl's point, like, he was ahead 6-19. Like,
yeah,
right, but the time doesn't matter.
Sure.
They weren't close to playing to the time limit. They weren't close to decking. He had plenty of cards and stuff left that he would have easily killed him without the Molten Gold. The issue with Vanish is, like, the Vanish is good if you're playing a deck that is annihilating your opponent on everything else and you want to shore up your burn matchup. Because, like, burn is, like, for instance, I had one in my 4-book Aerodel deck that was just like this grindy battlefield deck, right? So I had the battlefield all locked up. And one of the ways that you lose is Aerodel has 16, you take some burn damage. So I'd like the 1 advantage to hold for the possible Molten Gold, right? Mm-hmm. And in that case, even though I'm trading 1 for 1 with a card, you have to be like when you're making trades like that, just card in hand for card in hand.
Yeah.
The person who's ahead on board is going to be the winner.
Sure.
So you have to be equal or ahead on board for Vanish to be good.
Right.
And that's hard to do when you're playing Illusion and when you have Vanishes to draw. So I mean, yes, Vanish is like the only thing that stops Molten Gold, but when you think about how the game actually plays, is that really what you want to be doing?
I don't know. I mean, it depends on how close the game is, right? Because you can lose a close game in the same capacity, and it's not
right. But, like, if we're talking about just a close battlefield game, I would rather have a Molten Gold in my deck then a Vanish in my deck to stop my opponent's Molten Gold, because then we're just equal on the race. Like, all we're talking about is a 3-life swing one way or the other. Like, I would rather have my own Molten Gold to like win the game and do something when I draw it, rather than a Vanish to like be turned off most of the time and try to win this like 3-life race on the back end.
Sure, of course.
You know, we're literally just talking about cards in hand compared to life total. So having a Molten Gold in your own deck is the same as Vanish.
Yeah, I mean, Carl's adding too. I think Vanish is underrated. Usually when you play on Molten, you give up using your nature for the board. If the game is close, a Vanish can mess up the entire math of everything.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Vanish has like the higher ceiling of just like being an absolute blowout. But it's also turned off a hell of a lot more. That's like, if we see like an uptick in the number of coals, then I think it's better, because I think the best thing you do with it is counter 100 blades. How does it interact with anguish? Does it counter the whole anguish?
Probably. I'd have to look. I'm sorry, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm just trying to think of things that's good against, because they unfortunately they printed Phoenix Barrage in the wrong order to make
Ziziros, that was a great match, man. It was tons of fun to watch. So
yeah, Ziziros, we really appreciate you playing on stream. Like, it makes our content easy. We have a lot of fun doing the commentary, and
Carl says deck dependent is a thing. Smart call in a 4-bookish deck, since you're always relying on your hand to spend your dice. You can risk dead cards. Yeah, right. I think that's a good analysis.
I'm not saying Vanish doesn't have its place, because I literally registered one for the Shufflebus tournament, and I think that saying that if you want to beat Molten Gold, play Vanish, I think that's wrong. I think if you're playing a very specific deck and you're heavy in illusion and you're okay just holding cards in your hand the whole game, you're good to go on the Vanish. I think Orric makes Vanish a little better, because his decks tend to do all of the things I just said. And before that, we kind of just had like the 4-book archetype in general. So they needed to print Phoenix Barrage to do damage to Phoenix Born first, before dealing damage to guys, and then Vanish would all of a sudden be playable. Like, stuff like that. Like, Vanish is a card that can only get better, like it can't get worse as we see more cards. So once it gets more targets, and it gets better, it's better. And specifically, it will get better in the next expansion, just because Illusion will get better. So if Illusion is more playable, cards like that will become more playable. But I think it's cool that it exists in the game. Like, Illusion has a lot of cards like that. That are just like, I would be excited to play as 1 or 2 ofs in a lot of decks if the backbone of the deck contained a lot of illusion dice, and I just don't think you can do that very well right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's
the next expansion. It will change.
I definitely think that's a component of it. I mean, one deck that probably obviously can handle the power side, because one of the conversations happening in chat right now between Chad and Carl is power side on Vanish versus class side, and how much it would change the difference.
I mean, if it changed to a class, it'd be in like way better than it is now.
Right.
It would still be in the same situation that we've talked about up to this point, where like it only does one very specific thing. You have it more consistently. And honestly, like, that's almost a better design, because the only thing we're talking about it doing right now is stopping Molten Gold. And it
can't stop a Guilt Link.
It feels really bad to like have the Vanish in your hand and your opponent's on top of round, and you don't roll your wolf and they Molten Gold you. Like, that's it
can stop the Guilt Link, to be fair. And that's a reasonable response to it as well.
I guess it feels a lot worse to do it on things that are repeatable.
Sure.
That specifically you get a lot of stuff out of because they sack their guy too. So you get like, but you still only get a 1-for-1, right? You just like get, no, I guess it's a 2-for-1. No, because their guy's going to die anyway. So all you're doing is saving your guy at the cost of 1 card. So yeah, it's a 1-for-1.
Yeah.
And that can be a big tempo swing, but because it's not a card out of hand, you're not actually gaining that much more than like the Molten Gold thing. You're just trading 1-for-1. It's just a tempo thing in that case.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to me because Ziziros is asking, does Vanish go up in stock if you're playing a Phoenixborn really hurt by Choke? Yeah, I think
does that make it playable? Probably not.
Yeah,
like, it's like this is the thing is all these things that you guys are saying is absolutely right. Like, yes, it would be better with a class. Yes, it's better if you're bad against Choke. Yes, it's okay against Guild Link. Like all these things are true, but you have to think about what it's like to just draw that card when it's not turned on.
Matt offering Generosity is probably better against
and
Choke.
Generosity is much better against Choke than
correct. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And specifically because it like it does other things the rest of the game.
Yeah,
that is the so Generosity got picked in this round of draft, and I thought for sure I was going to get to pick that card up late, and I'm very upset about it. Like, I haven't been real salty about any of the picks so far, but that one, I thought Generosity was going to go a long time because so far I'm the only person in Charm and Time, and obviously it can go in either, but the Time hasn't been very heavily picked, and I didn't think a lot of people had good resets for it. So I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, Generosity is just a weird card in general.
It's so good. It's very, very powerful.
I agree.
Super, super good.
I am 100% on board with you on that.
Yeah.
I am waiting for German and Carl to tell me they're good to go for their stuff here. But give me just a second here.
Carl says he is ready.
Yeah, so I'm just waiting on German, I think. And I have to... Apparently, we have not had a double Orric on stream, so my PSD file is messed up because it's only on one side. Whoops. So bear with me for just a second here.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this standard game. It was very cool. I mean, it was a little one-sided, but it just didn't go the way like a lot of stuff happened that I just I got the call wrong. Which is a learning experience.
Sure. Here we go.
Which Orric is the real Orric?
I guess we're going to find out. I don't know. Yeah, Carl, I looked at it. I don't know where that got mixed up because when I go back and look at the Invitational, which I copied from this, it had the head-to-head rules. So I have removed the head-to-head rules based on the rules document. I did look at that after the match here while Neil was commenting. So I don't know how that'll impact how Smash figures things out, but I'll get that all corrected on the back end. The
head-to-head has to come after.
It doesn't matter. It's not in the rules. It's not in the rules document, so I removed it completely.
Oh, okay.
So
then it'll work fine.
Yep.
Oh, now I have to figure out how to beat your weird Shadowhounds deck.
Yeah. You just probably play your game and you'll be fine.
I mean, to a certain extent, you have to as Orric, right? Like your first 5 always has to have a concentration. My deck doesn't have the additional concentration activates, but a lot of decks have to start concentration plus like a Gates or something to like get an additional concentrate.
Right.
And then like at least 3 books, right?
Yeah, I mean it's I mean you definitely
your first 5 change very much.
No, I've just got a flex first 5, right? It's a question of whether I start the 5th book, which in this matchup, I mean, I don't think it's a secret. My body inversion does 0 against you, so
it can make my 1/1s into 1/1s. It's not like you can't activate it.
Yeah, it's a good plan. I'm glad you want me to play bad cards against you.
Like you said, it does nothing. It doesn't do nothing. You can activate it.
It has 0 impact on the game. You
can make your guy into a 1/3.
I played
and you
against.
Can attack my Salaman Monk. It won't die.
I played against a deck with 9 Knights, and I started it there, thinking that was like an okay place for it, and I never activated it because it's just
that doesn't sound like it's great.
Well, you look at it from a perspective of like Hound is a 3/1, right? And so you can then shoot something else to control your board if you've got a single focused Hound, and then the Hound can hit a Knight for 3, and then you invert it, and the Knight's dead.
Right. I mean, if you have focused Hound, you should just spend your Hound into their Knight.
That's what you do. Yeah, that's what I did that whole game.
Because then you're trading 3 dice for 3 dice. If all of a sudden you're like needing this, it's a card in hand and an extra dice, so you're trading 4 dice and 2 cards from 1 card.
Yeah, I mean it's
in round 1, and in later rounds.
Yeah, it's not the same, right? Yeah. So it is what it is. I mean, it's really going to come down to, is this the game where my deck decides to bury both of my Hound books and bury both of my concentrations, or does my deck decide that it wants to give me them on the correct timeline?
It's very
the average timeline
that the race to awaken state is all that this is. But
yeah, I really think that's what it is at the end of the day. Especially just because neither one of us have real good bypass options. Carl has some ideas on this, but he's not going to. He's going to wait to say them on stream. I think Jesse is going to win. Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence, Carl.
Yeah, I'm worried about the pingers, for sure.
So
and like my mileage out of small sacrifice is a little stretched because I can't target your like main threat.
Yeah, I mean, if I can keep your threats down, that'll be the key, obviously, right? Like, but that's it's hard. Like, you're going to make a lot more than I can make Hounds. That's for sure. So,
but you got to remember that until I'm making, I have to make a number of threats like equal to your number of Hound books for each activation.
Sure,
because you're going to trade double.
Well, I'm not going to trade double right away.
Right.
But I mean, it's possible.
The Orric games go long.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
It's not like my plan is to beat you in round 3. Like, we're going to go to round 4 or 5, and you're going to have plenty of time to draw your additional Hound books. Like,
yep. All right. So what's going to happen here for everybody? I am going to try to update the overlay while we're playing. I'm going to mute my mic. Carl and German are hopping into Discord chat. I am going to join their Discord chat. I'm going to leave
I am not going to join the Discord chat.
But I'm going to leave. I'm going to take my headphones off. You'll see me do that. I'm going to leave the video monitor up so you can see Neil and I play the game. And you know that I don't have my headphones on, so I can't hear the chat going. And I'll minimize my OBS. So I do everything possible to avoid any sort of...
I don't think you're cheating me. I don't care.
No, like, but I want everybody to know, like that's a thing, right? Like I'm super excited to have a couple of guest commentators. I can't wait to hear somebody else commentate about my game because it has never happened. I have only ever listened to myself commentate or go back and like
or me
go over it, right? Or you, right? So like I'm excited to hear some other folks listen and talk about my game, and Carl and German are both extremely strong players, so I'm excited to hear their thoughts on how we both play this game. So I'm gonna get Ash Techie up, Neil. Oh, you've got it up already.
Yeah, I got a game ready for you.
All right. So, yeah. All right. So
I'm just going to stay in the Zoom call.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
And you can just mute yourself or whatever. And
well, I'm gonna do that so that Anyways, but I think they're getting set up over there. Let me see if they're ready. I'm gonna dump in on them here. Here we go. All right, I'll be back in a little bit.
All right.
Or Owl and Gilder, whatever at the same time.
Hey guys.
So if you have the same luck as I have, you're good to go.
There we go. Hey, how you doing, Jesse?
Good, guys. All right, I am pulling my headphones off. So it's going to be your show to take over.
Okay, real quick before
Yeah.
you go, how's our audio, both of us?
You-
Any
you sound-
adjustments?
No,
We're
you
good?
guys sound good to me. Yeah, for sure.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Can
Awesome.
Neil and German see this? So Neil, can you guys see the chat? You're not going to have live, like your
I
chat's
have
going to be
it
a
on.
little delayed. Yeah.
Yep, I can see. Yep,
I
I've
just
got all my
pressed
stuff
switch.
pulled up.
I'll have both up. Yeah,
Okay.
just in case.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
No problem. So he's saying in the chat, but he's just taking his headphones off. That's what he said.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
reading. I can't read and listen at the same time.
Got it. So, oh wait. Okay. So they're gone. Jesse and Neil are gone.
Well, Jesse still has is on.
But he's not. But he's not listening.
He's not listening.
Oh yes. Okay. All right. Welcome, Ashes community, to the official community mutiny of the Shufflebus stream. We've been putting this together for months, but yeah, Jesse and Neil are out. And Carl and German are in. So from now on, Tuesday and Thursday streams are just going to be the Carl German good time hour. So I know we've all been looking forward to this for a long time. So welcome to the new show. Everything's good now. This is a community requested thing. So I'm looking forward to it. How are you tonight, Carl?
I'm fantastic. I'm just excited to be here with the Ashes hype man. I know I say this joke a lot, but like every other comment I see Jeremy just hyping someone up. It's awesome.
Oh man, I love this community. It's been so awesome. What's your card game history, Carl? I can speak a little bit to mine, but I'm not sure about yours. What other games have you played?
I played Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid, going to Toy Story tournaments. And just playing any jank deck I can find. And I didn't know competitive scene. I barely knew the rules. Then somehow some Pokemon cards mixed up with my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I never learned how to play Pokemon, but me and my brother made up rules, so we did that.
Nice.
And now I'm playing Ashes. So I'm playing Ashes because of just Plaid Hat. They had a Summoner Wars game night, and I just bought their next game. So
that's awesome, man. So you're near the Ohio area, is that correct? Because I know you went to the Columbus event.
So not really. I'm in Illinois. I went to Columbus Day because me and my girlfriend were on a road trip to Gatlinburg, and I casually mentioned it on the way back, like, "Hey, they're having this thing in Ohio," and she's like, "Yeah, you should go." So I didn't even have to ask. So that was awesome.
There you go. Never mind that you packed your cards ahead of time or anything. That's got nothing to do with it.
I borrowed Nick's.
Shut up! I didn't know that. That's really cool.
So I gave Nick a list, and he just built me a Koji deck, and then that's awesome. How it worked.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this matchup here. There's a few things that I took notes on that I want to point out before we get going too far in earnest here. The first is that Neil's control package really depends on that small sacrifice. And that's a card that cannot touch the biggest threat on Jesse's board, which is Shadowhound. And so I'm really interested to see how Neil pivots that, whether he's going to be able to manage those Shadowhounds. We know he's got the two Nature's Wrath, but again, when I've watched Neil play, his main control tool is that 3x small sacrifice. And so with that being not able to touch Hound, that's something I'm going to be on the lookout for. The other thing that I'm interested in is that because this is an Orric mirror, this is a start that could get kind of slow in a lot of instances. And so I'm curious as to whether Jesse or Neil, or maybe even both, pivots to something a little bit faster, something more aggressive, to kind of define the tempo of this round one. Because when you think about an Orric mirror, you're usually thinking about a lot of slow, methodical building up. And I'm interested to see if somebody wants to flip the script. And then the last note that I took is that alone out of the entire field of 40 plus competitors in this season of Shufflebus, these are the two people who, in preparation for Orric mirror matches, slotted Dispel. So they're the only ones to have it. And I would be willing to go out on a limb here and say that Dispel is never going to look better in the history of Ashes Reborn than it will look tonight. I think it's possible that a clutch Dispel play could be, I don't know, Carl, game deciding. It's
I
possible.
think it could be a game winning play. I'm hyped to see it. I want to see a 6 status token Orrick and hit with the spell.
That would be awesome. So, all right, let's catch everybody up here. We've got a Salamander Monk hitting the field. Oh, second concentration.
Ooh, second concentration.
That's a big deal.
I'm going to add my quick thoughts before the game gets started off. I said I was going to throw some predictions in. I think Jesse's going to win. And the reason why is I think once they hit Awakened State, even if Neil hits faster, I think Jesse, in combination with the Hound Ping and in combination with the Bears, has a better way to take advantage of all the unit ping. And Neil just doesn't have that same pressure on the unit ping. He just is I think he's going to have to rely on more face damage.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was going to ask you, Carl, is in this matchup, do you think that it really does come down to who gets Awakened State online first, or do you think there's more nuance to it than that?
I want to say I was smart enough to figure that one out, but Orrick is definitely one that I'm having a tough nut cracking. Like I have a okay-ish record against him, and I just can't win with him. So I don't know.
Yeah, I've had that same experience, and of course, you are kind of all over the map with the things that you play. But for me, I'm very much in that kind of mid-range aggro. That's my comfort spot. The one card I realized that I brought to every single season of Shufflebus has been Lightbringer. I just really like making you exhaust your dudes so that I can hit you back harder than you hit me. So that's kind of the spot that I live in, and I'm in the same position. Like I can outpace a lot of the Orrics that I've played, but when I get in the driver's seat, it's really hard for me to figure it out. Oh my gosh. Okay,
so we're gonna see double concentration, double Shadowhound. This is an insane start for Jesse.
That is really good.
I thought Jesse could win even going on Awakened like second, and it looks like he's gonna be off to a huge lead.
Yeah, I think he said in some of the pregame coverage that he thought it was going to come down to whether Hound Books got buried, and that is not what happened. He's hit concentration, and this is ridiculous. I mean, if you're in Jesse's seat, this is about the best start that you can ask for.
Yeah, I don't think it can go any better. Yeah. But on that note, concentration does spend a good amount of dice. So if you, I'm always under the impression if you see it, or do you want to see it the second one round one? Like maybe just to play it, but spending 2 dice for not a lot of effect is.
It's interesting. I think
this is kind of where I'm stuck with Orrick, and this is a night Frostfang is immune to that Hound Ping.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm really curious. I haven't been paying close enough attention to the meditates. Maybe you can tell me, chat. But I think that Frostfang is a card that Neil first fived. And I don't think I've seen him do that to this point. And this is kind of what I was talking about, wondering whether one or both of these players would go to a more aggressive start here. Frostfang would definitely qualify. That's the very definition of an aggressive unit. So we'll see what happens here. This is an interesting attack. What do you think about
this? Attacks it with Monk.
Did he start Fester?
Did he? It might not be a bad idea to start a Fester and come out ahead early.
Yeah, he meditated up, but when you're talking about Orrick, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and I mean he has all power dice right now, so it's hard to get.
Well, both players have all power dice. So yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, there's the Orrick block there. So we've got guard down, but Butterfly Monk is up. So we do have some unit guard on Neil's side of the field.
There is 2 Festers in the discard, and a method I saw earlier was that small sacrifice and not pulling it back. You kind of commented on trying to pivot away from the small sacrifice, but you did first 5 one.
Yeah, and he
not pulling it back. Do you think him not pulling it back is just hoping he was going to get something better, or kind of giving up on that plan?
No, again, the biggest threat that you're talking about on the other side of the board is going to be the Shadowhounds. Bear is a problem, but there's a lot of ways to deal with Bear. The Hound is the issue here, and I think small sacrifice. I think you've got to dig for other stuff. If I was Neil, I think my game plan going into this is probably try to beat him to Awakened State and hope that the Hound Books get buried. Only because I don't know what other plan you're on if that's not your plan. So it doesn't
just, take this bear out one by one. Sorry for interrupting.
No, you're right. It's an interesting line of play here. Yeah, okay, so down comes the first of many Shadowhounds that I assume we will see. The ping comes in. Yeah, see, with so many one life units, Man,
I'm not a huge fan of that ping. So I know the butterfly month would heal 1, but he's giving him another attacker to finish off that bear, and he's
that's true.
making him not having to waste that nature die.
So and again that
he started
Shadowhound
nature wrath. Very, very smart.
Oh wow, there it is.
So he's pinging the bears to 2 life and then finishing
and
off
take care of the Shadowhounds.
And
yeah.
he has Frostfang to live.
Wow, Neil. Wow.
Smart play.
Gotta say, I'm embarrassed that I did not see that.
And Jesse plays Fate Reflection.
You gotta be kidding me. So
this is a pretty fun open.
This is a fun open, and what's interesting is these two players spar against each other all the time, and so that this is just an instance where they are both reading each other like a book. I imagine they probably knew their first 5s. Oh, okay, so second small sacrifice. Yeah, interesting.
So I was actually on the other side of you. I think small sacrifice is going to be very important because I think the Hound is not going to be the main threat. It's just going to enable the bears because I think he could keep on putting blockers, just block the Hound. But I think the Hound is going to have to clear the way for the bears. I could be wrong.
That's a good point.
And a comment they made in the stream before this is that Neil wasn't prepared for Hounds. Like, with them being sparring partners and playing against each other, I'm surprised he didn't know Jesse was going to bring Hounds.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that too. It's always very interesting to watch these two players play. I think it's more than fair to assume that these are two of the people who, besides maybe Nick, think and talk about Ashes more than anybody. And so seeing what they choose to bring to a tournament and what lines they take when they play is always particularly interesting to me. These guys just spend a lot of time on this game. And so I was really excited at the chance to jump in and watch this match and commentate it. So at the top of round 2 here, we're going to go ahead and make a bear. The concentration race is not close. We've got Jesse on 3 and Neil on 1. So right now, it does seem like Jesse's in the driver's seat, but I think we have a long game to go. And I do know that Neil has just tested the absolute crap out of this Orric list, so it's going to be interesting to see if he has a long-term plan in place beyond just starting that Nature's Wrath. So we've got both Fester in Neil's bin, so big threats, harder to deal with. He's only got the 2 Nature's Wrath, which is kind of an important card in this matchup, and he's already chosen to use 1. The only thing in Jesse's discard is the 2 Fate Reflections, which I think is interesting because it gives Neil a lot of play with those frog pings.
It definitely does. But I don't think Jesse's going to use. I think he would hold off unless he has 2 particle shields or Fate Reflection and a particle shield. I think he would hold off on protecting anything but the Hound.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Good point on him testing his list a ton. Before the Season 5, I think this is the most I've played list on Ash Techie. I've seen this everywhere.
It has been in a lot of places. Neil was really on plan Orric. I think he was excited. And it's interesting.
This is insane. What a start for Jesse.
Yeah, so let me take a look at Neil's list here and see what we're dealing with in terms of units. So we got a Master Vampire, we've got 2 Hammer Knights, and we've got Frostfang, which has Armored 1, and then we've got a Bear Book, and everything else has 1 health. So these Shadowhounds are going to really eat some things up.
They're going to eat some things, and he's 3 tokens away from being awakened. I'm having a hard time seeing how Jesse's going to pull. I mean, Neil's going to pull this one out.
Yeah, it is interesting,
you never know.
Isn't it? No, you never know.
Can change it, and Jesse's dispels bottoms. The awaken math can change, and
yeah, that's true. So now we've got second concentration down for Neil, and he goes up to 3. So we're narrowing the gap here a little bit. It's really amazing how this mirror is just defined by that card and by the race to awaken state. It's such an interesting matchup.
We get the Ancestor Spirit down.
Okay.
It's going to be more of a cycling than anything because the Hound's just going to ping it away.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you're digging for your dispel, oh my gosh, there goes the second
butterfly monk.
Man, the draws are just falling Jesse's way, man.
He has a huge spell board, but he doesn't have the dice to spend it all. So there's that.
There is that. Does Jesse have the molten gold? He's just got the one molten gold.
Or Neil gets his third
they both-
concentration down in round 2.
Okay, that's a big deal.
These Orrics came out firing.
Yep. Here goes the body inversion. Now, one thing that's interesting, I didn't realize this until I looked at the list this afternoon, but with 3 Shadowhounds, I would have thought Secret Door makes the cut, and it's not a Secret Door, it's a body inversion. So that's a really, really interesting.
What he's trying to do with body inversion against all these 1-lifers. So I get the idea if you want to change like a low attack, high life unit, or if you want to kill an owl or something, but I don't understand the use here. I mean, if you have the spellboard spot, might as well play it, but
yeah, I think damage is potentially going to be very incremental in this game, and so even something like having an opening to get a bear attack in and body inverting it to make it 3 instead of 2, that's a thing.
Yeah, that one damage adds up. That one damage definitely adds up.
Well, I mean, you're talking about a game that's going to be decided by tons of instances of 1 damage. This is going to be a grind. I mean, because here's the thing, man. Like, even if we get to Awaken State, it's not game at that point. Like, that only represents 7 damage direct to the Phoenixborn, and at that point, they have to start loading the tokens up again. So, this is going to be a slugfest for sure.
We got all this. It's nice seeing a deck play 5 illusion, 6 illusion, but 5 up right now. That's awesome.
It is. Matt Bowers would be proud, that's for sure.
This is Eclipse and Matt's deck even. So
yeah, one more.
And not only that, we have a 2-color Orric. Everyone's talking about how Orric is awesome with like different colors, and he's taking advantage of the shifting to spend 3 dice of 1 color, and I think that's interesting.
Yeah. And it's
when these decks were published, I really liked that. First, I liked that Jesse went back to Hounds. It was like a flashback to season 1.
Yeah, that was one of the first cards that he really fell for when Reborn's changes got published. I remember that he did that in season 1. It was very interesting because I came into Shufflebus in season 2. And so only having season 1 to look at in terms of what the reference point for how to build a deck was really unusual, because I mean, if you look back at it now, season 1 decks are so weird. Like everybody really was just figuring things out, and I think that the Odette Shadowhound thing that Jesse was running back then is definitely indicative of that. Like nobody had any idea what to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of the playtester has a huge advantage season 1 after coming out of the AL, but now it's like the field is so competitive now.
It is.
It's just everyone has it.
Man, how about JK007 this season with that loot?
Oh yeah, new player. Is he, 5-0 right now? 4-1.
Heck yeah, he's 4-1. He's only lost to Philly and get in line. So
yeah, he's off to a great start. 4-book Aerodel is a good choice. So
yeah, so we do get the filter off of that Ancestor Spirit, and Neil sequenced.
And it's a good time to summon it too.
It is.
He can't ping it.
He can't frog it, and he can't summon another Shadowhound. So this is
counter butterflies. This butterfly counter is better for Neil than Jesse because he does get the 1 life.
Yep, absolutely. I remember watching Neil versus Chaos Theory in round 1. And it's interesting. I've seen Neil, if he gets lucky on the insight and he gets a concentration, that's the plan. If he gets focus 1 on the small sacrifice, that becomes the plan. But against Chaos Theory in that game, during round 1, the first book that he landed off of insight was another Butterfly Monk book. And that became the plan, and he just rode butterflies all the way to the ceiling.
It's a very flexible deck with the ready spells.
It is.
Interesting.
So
body conversion. I'm trying to see what's the. Am I missing something here?
Oh my gosh!
Particle Shield. That is awesome. Oh, that's the coolest play ever. That's awesome. Way to go, Jesse.
That was really cool.
Oh, that's the best.
I mean,
I don't care who wins. I just saw that.
Yeah. See, he's leaving Neil with dice up and Jesse's tapped, but honestly, worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you could body version a Master Vampire, but it's not as cool.
Yeah, Carl, do you kill a bear? Yeah, you kill a bear, or at least that's what Neil should do.
You kill. Yeah, because I think we're noticing something. Jesse was just very largely on board. He was up. But even with the ping, these hounds aren't going to get through. He needs to rely on the bear. So that's kind of what I thought pre-game. I think Jesse needs to get to Awakened, and he needs to ping everything and get the bears through.
All right, so we were talking less than a round ago about how it looked like it was going to be really tight for Neil. Look at the board state now, and tell me if you think you can identify an advantage. Because I can't.
I can't. Well, who goes first? Neil goes first. So I think Jesse's going to immediately buy inversion. So oh no, root armor. Awesome. I'm just not going to talk. This is every time I come on stream, I make a prediction and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And I think Christian made a point about this last time I was commenting. He was like, I was just laughing at how many times Carl flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be another game of that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh my goodness. These players are really putting on a show for us. And I think that comes back a little bit to illusion. It's a fun color to watch. It has things like body inversion and the Shadowhound pings and particle shield. It's like, and Shadow Guard, of course, which is not in Jesse's list, but you want to talk about like hype plays, like Shadow Guard.
It's the most fun color by far. And
definitely,
I think that was attention even from base set in 1.0, but like hidden power was supposed to be like, surprise, I got more stuff, but no, it was like, surprise, I'm broken. So I think
rest in peace, Ashes 1.0 Vicky.
But I was saying how I'm going to come in and be the Tony Romo and try to call plays. Like, I'm not even close.
It's not happening.
This is awesome though. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I do think Neil has switched to upper hand. He could get small stuff out, and if Jesse doesn't respond, do you think Jesse would use the hound?
Here's the dispel
without.
Look at that.
Oh, nice.
Look at that.
On six tokens.
On 6, and let me tell you, that is going to keep Jesse off of concentrate until round 4. Goodness.
And a dispel on 6 tokens right back. I'm loving this.
Ladies and gentlemen, if Dispel is your card, if Dispel is your baby, that's it. That's as good as it gets right there. It'll never be that good again.
Where's Killer Cack?
Yeah, it is all downhill for Dispel. I'm not looking at their video. They should be laughing, but they're not. They're very serious about this right now, but they don't realize how awesome this is.
I didn't look at their faces. Why? They're not getting hyped.
No, well, Neil's chuckling a little bit because, but Jesse really wants this win. I think I'm very happy watching this game and not playing it. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so neither Orric is going to get to the awakened state this round. So
if we're looking at deck and hand count, might start coming into play.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and you see Neil saying that in chat right now.
I wasn't watching. Was it?
Yeah, he's saying that he's 4 cards deeper than Jesse is, which is a really good point.
Yeah, I just saw that. Okay, yeah, deck and hand count, it's coming. And it's not 4 cards deeper; it's actually 6.
That's true.
He has 2 more in hand.
That's true.
And he has more. If he needs to meditate, he has more on the spell board. I think 3, 4, 5, 6.
There's so many ready spells.
10, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, they're tied.
Yeah. So while these guys are in the tank a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about meta with you, because one thing that I saw predicted before this season a lot that I have not seen come to pass is there's kind of this talk of like an O2 apocalypse where, Nature's Wrath was all of a sudden not going to be good and you were going to have O2s everywhere and things like that. And I think when you look at the lists that are registered for this season, we haven't really seen that happen. Do you think that that's something that's still going to come to pass, or do you think that was maybe a prediction that was overblown?
There's only so many O2s you get included in your deck, but I had I didn't think it was going to come to pass, but I had a Lulu that ran like all the O2s and like Rile the Meek and a whole bunch of it was like a 0 attack swarm, super aggressive deck.
I know. I played it and you destroyed me.
And so I love that deck. And I was like, Lulu's my girl. I love Lulu. And then everyone's talking about how like there's all these O2s and we need to counter it. Let's all run Meteor. I'm like, shut up, guys. Like, so I was like, I'm not gonna bring it. And I wonder like if my thinking was part of like not my thinking, but I wonder if anyone thought similar to me. Like everyone's expecting these O2s. So like let's not bring what everyone's gonna come to counter for.
Sure.
I don't know if that's 100% it because yeah.
I think that is also reflected in the meteor count because it's also lower than I counted on. And I kind of made a last second decision to leave meteor at home. And the second that I ended up matched up with Philly in round 2, I was like, man, I really wish I hadn't done that, but can't win them all. But there's
I think there's a bit of a
meteor.
Some baiting each other there. Like there's no. Everyone thinks there's gonna be O2s. There's not gonna be O2s. So I think everyone's gonna think that. So I'm not gonna bring meteor.
Yeah.
So then, but I think there's something to that.
Yeah, I think so too. Mind games are real.
I don't know.
I want to talk about that play.
So
I want to talk about that play real quick. So, Jesse sends Shadowhound into face. That leaves it exhausted, and it just gets small sacrificed onto that Root Armored Master Vampire, and it dies. Carl? Is that a misplay? It's a lot of dice.
Sending the Hound at face.
Yeah, I mean because Neil was able to turn around and just get it off.
Because like, what is he gonna do for damage? And I think I've been trying to we've been talking about this point. It's all incremental damage, and if it does come, and that Root Armor is gonna be pretty big, but if it does come to like a 1 damage race, being 3 up on it is somewhat significant.
Especially if you're already ahead on deck. Now that Root Armored Master Vampire does have a fadeaway attached to it now. I don't know if you saw that one.
That's kind of what changes it, because you don't need to have that to take out the Master Vamp. You can just play it how you want to play it.
Yeah.
Right? You could try to get that damage. And this is where it comes to a big point of attacking Phoenixborn or attacking. That's a very smart attack Phoenixborn play, because if he gets the 3 damage, which he wants, or he exhausts a Master Vampire, which he also wants.
Yeah.
So it's not a bad. I don't think it's a misplay.
Yeah. So if you're Jesse, do you just pass?
Because I think so. You could take the 3 and go 3-3, and then fade away would take care of it.
There's the pass. I mean, you can make bear, but it's just going to get eaten immediately, So
I think once he attacks with the vampire, you make bear. Or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, because do you want the bear up, or do you want the hound to take care of these small units? Because I think he's going to go the hound route. So he gets a butterfly monk, so he gets something. Even if he doesn't summon any units, he gets something, and then he could take his time with the Shadow Hound. So I think that's a smart monk play by Jesse. So he doesn't end the round. He doesn't pit it in Neil's hands. He still gets something and is going to go up next round regardless of what happens.
So let's figure out a couple of the things that our boy Neil has got in hand here. Left in the 6 cards in his hand and the 3 cards in his draw pile, we're going to have an extra Salamander Monk book.
And that Nature Pain makes it look even better.
Yeah,
because he heals and he deals the damage for 1, and now he can't summon anything. Because before he could have summoned a monk himself, and then he could have tried to bait Jesse to summon the hound, and then he gets a free he gets a free ancestor spirit.
Do you think it matters at the end of the day that he just stranded 3 dice on Jesse?
No, because they're tied. Jesse has more cards, and he has more life.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I gotta tell you, Carl, Orrick mirrors are really weird.
Yeah, I think so. It plays so differently.
Really a tribute to the playtest and the design team, I think. I know one thing that Nick said as Orrick was coming out, and we were all just kind of talking about the design and talking about how cool it was and where the influences came from. He said that he wanted to sort of redefine what a control deck could look like in the scope of this game. And a couple months into really getting to play with Orric in earnest, I personally think that that's a goal that was accomplished. This is a new archetype, basically wholly. It doesn't play like anything else, and I think you especially see that in the mirror here, where something like 3 dice being stranded in a round is literally a non-factor. In any other matchup, that's crazy talk. This is just, these guys are playing a different game, and in this game, they're playing that different game like against each other. It's really interesting to watch. Kudos to the design team.
I completely agree. The design goal was definitely met. And I think something that the playtesters were kind of trying to push Nick in, and Nick knew himself, so playtesters can take no credit for this or however much they want. But we really wanted a way to close mill or control games that isn't abundance, because abundance felt like the really way to do it.
Sure.
And I think Ash Spirit, which isn't seen, but I think that's part of it. Orric is a unique part of it. So I think it's accomplished, and I really like the design. And I was dumb in thinking it was bad with concentration, because now you're at Awakened and it's just going to go off.
Yeah. And that's a take that I was very tempted to follow you on for a while there. And you're talking about a guy in you who's taken home 2 Shufflebus championships. So like, if you come into the Discord hot and you're saying like, I think concentrate's not great, I'm kind of inclined to lean that direction as well. And at the time, I wasn't seeing a lot of evidence otherwise, especially in terms of the games that I was playing against Orric, most of which then I was winning handily. But I think that was at least as big of a factor. Like, what was going into that is that the piloting ceiling on Orric really is high. And, the low win percentage that we were seeing in the first few weeks of him hitting the scene, it just takes time to learn how to pilot this guy. And I think that's starting to snowball now as people figure out what's good, what cards make the most sense for him. And I think that, at this point, he's definitely catapulted himself into B tier. And I think we're going to look at A by the time people figure it out. Both Orric's Awakened.
I don't think his win percentage is reflective of how good he is. I think he's a strong Phoenixborn. It's just really tough to play with less dice every round.
It is. So both Orrics are Awakened now, so the damage is
back to back as well.
Yep.
Jesse got it first, slightly. This is like twins saying, I was born a minute earlier. So.
I think in the Orric game as it is played, hitting Awakened first is a moral victory, if nothing else. So you can feel proud about that one.
Oh, definitely. It's like a mill game. Like, I lost, but you have no cards in your deck, so hey, you did something. I wonder, like, if he's going to start using the Hounds to pressure damage and not worry about the ping, because he could use Awaken to ping these one-lifers.
Mm-hmm.
And he could pressure 3 damage with them, which is significant when we're talking about these one instances.
Yeah, I think so too. Here's an Anchornaut. That's a good play. One interesting thing, chat. I'm not watching the Twitch feed right now. I'm watching directly in Ash Techie, and so I assume that you guys have knowledge of somebody's hand. I don't know whose perspective they're watching from. But I'm blind to both of these hands right now. So, chat, things that I don't, which is,
I'm in the same position as you. I think it's going to be more fun commentating that.
Yeah, for
me
sure.
Or Jesse's hand, or whoever it is.
Yeah, feel good about yourselves, chat. Things that Carl and I don't know. And this will be
I should probably be watching hands, because then I wouldn't be making...
This will be the first and last time we let them do that, isn't it, Carl? Yeah.
Oh, first and last time we let them do what?
No more than we do. Now that Jesse and Neil are out and we're in charge now that we're in charge of Ashes, it's going to be, the first thing is
we're in charge of Ashes now, not just Shufflebus. We're kicking Nick out next.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing that's long overdue. I think you guys will enjoy our dictatorship. I think it's going to be fine. Couple big changes coming. First of all, first 5 Fridays is mandatory for all Ashes community members from this point forward. non-compliance, doing anything else on a Friday evening will result in you being shot. So keep that in mind. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you at 8:30 Central Time on Fridays. That'll be great.
We got some Stormwind snipers hanging out. Neil could have done a weird flex and threw, like, when you summon the Ancestor Spirit, threw a card on top of his deck and meditated and used sight for it.
But he didn't.
But he didn't. There's a little bit of a lull here, so I gotta.
We gotta pay. Yeah, down. It's interesting because, you know, with the damage starting to heat up and Awaken,
he just played Frostback there.
Wow, that's kind of late in the game. So obviously he didn't.
Do you think that should have been a card he started, especially considering the Hound's ping damage? Or do you think he was? I mean, if he stalks the Frostback Bear, he trades up, right? Because he spent 2, Jesse spent 3, or 3 round 1.
You know, the kind of the sequencing that you were talking about earlier, where you really feel like Hound's best utility in this matchup is to make way for the Bear. Well, if you look at Neil's list, in terms of blocking Bear, one of the best options is his own Bear. So, you know, I think that's a good call. It's possible that he needed to first 5 this card. It's coming down, you know, at the end of round 4. That may be too little too late at this point. And again, Jesse has a little bit of a board here, but really I think what you're looking at right now is the damage count. And it seems not that big of a gap with 4 on Jesse and 6 on Neil, but when you factor in the empty draw pile for Neil, I think the race is firmly, like, Jesse's ahead right now in terms of resources. It's just going to be a matter of whether Neil can kind of weasel himself out. And I think you're about to see a big swing here.
You got a double ping and a Orrick ping. That was rough. So I think being behind on Bear this late is an issue.
It's got to be Hammer Knight here, Carl. Because if it's not Hammer Knight, if he puts down one of these 1/1 summons, then it's just going to be an Awakened ping and a swing, I think. I think at this point in the game, if you're Jesse, you're talking about 5 damage to face, and you can't turn that down. So I think that this kind of forces the Hammer Knight, I think.
Do you think Neil's going too slow on his Awakened pings? Like, I think he used his side to concentrate last round.
Mm-hmm.
And if he would have mained, he would have the Bear gone by now. Like, if he would have sided and pinged, and then sided pinged this turn, the Bear would be gone. That saves 2 damage. That might be a little bit of a misplay there.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mean,
what do you do? What do you do now?
They awakened at the same time, but Neil has 6 tokens left. Jesse has 2. I don't think that matters when you're down 7 life. I think you need to use those tokens to both get damage, but also save yourself some life in the same time.
Yeah.
I think he's missing some opportunity to do that.
Yeah. What? So I really they're playing remarkably fast, which is interesting given the state of this matchup. But it's been hard for me to watch what Neil has been doing with his side actions there. But he's certainly not been using. Okay, and so see, he concentrates again here, and he goes up to 8 tokens. That's
you're not going to have the side actions to do that.
Yeah.
Right, and
it's too tight.
I think right now, even like ignoring the side actions, don't you need the dice?
Yeah, I think
like you're falling behind. Unless he swapped dice that I'd missed out, but I don't know. I'm not really liking his slow play of Awakened state.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with that for sure. So at this point, we do know that we've got 2 Hammer Knights in hand, but barring and all his concentrates are gone, so one of those is not going to come down in this round. I would be interested to hear Neil's perspective on this round going forward, because personally I don't understand the lines. I think you do have a chance to stabilize the board a little bit, because you have Hammer Knight in hand. We know Neil's got it. I would have figured that we would have seen it. Is there something
do you think part of it has to do with the his fear of using those pings because of fate reflection? I mean, if you're fearing fate reflection, you're gonna be fearing it all game. But I wonder if that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, he does know that he's got it. Man, yeah, it's a tough road to hoe. I gotta say, this is the damage is stacking up on Neil faster than I anticipated. Jesse is about to be out. Well, he just loaded up again. Yeah, it's stacking up, man. It's stacking up.
This is where I thought it might go. Before I was wish-washing back and forth. I thought like Jesse, the Awakened State was going to be so much bigger for Jesse because he had threats to pressure the board at the same time. And that's why I thought Jesse would win this one before I was going back and forth. But I do think Neil had some opportunities to save some life.
Yeah, I think so too. It is worth noting that earlier this week and in pregame coverage, Neil did say that he didn't, on paper, he didn't like this matchup. This is kind of weird.
One damage is one damage.
If you want to shut me up in the middle of a sentence, put in flame on an anchor knot into an empty board. Okay. Only in Shufflebus, man. Technically, Neil just 2-for-1 that anchor knot.
Neil really does like getting some 2-for-1s. So
yeah, man. Yeah, every point matters. I don't know. Is this the Ashes equivalent of like garbage time in the NFL right now? Is that what's going on a little bit?
Oh yeah. We're just
This is going to be the Molten. Yeah.
A Molten and then a ping this game.
Yeah. Very well played by both.
Kind of sad it's over. It was a ton of fun.
Yeah, I do think that Neil had some lines there, but I also definitely agree with his analysis that he made earlier in the week. This is just a tough matchup for him, man.
I think Jesse was saying it was a tough matchup as well. I didn't really see it from his perspective, but I guess like when you're looking at this mirror, like this is gonna be really tough. If he doesn't draw that amazing draw, then yeah, I think it is really tough. So I think it might be. I think we might be a little jaded by how the draws went.
Sure, I think so too. So now that they're loose of the actual game, I wonder if our mutiny is going to be cut short by Jesse Hodmegan. It just now occurred to me.
Hodmegan.
Oh, okay.
How's it going, New?
Yeah, this is awkward. Actually, we were kind of the heralds of your dethroning towards the beginning of this, but I did just realize
what dethroning? Like I was 2-2. It's not like I'm.
Well, no, I just mean like when Carl and I took over the commentary, we were, talking about how, as chat has wanted for ages now, the time of Jesse and Neil was, kind of over. And it was like the Carl and German good time happy hour now. But
okay. I'm in. I mean, I'll just be a producer for the rest of the time. You have to stream every Tuesday and Thursday for 2 hours, though.
How do you think the game went? I have a few questions, if you don't mind.
I think I played very poorly.
That's not what we saw.
I mean, unfortunately, because blood points are a thing, which this is just another time where I'm going to complain about how blood points should not be part of the game or tiebreakers. I could have conceded 7 turns prior to when I did, but I knew that I had to have main actions and side actions to get my blood point score up.
So no offense to you, but German was saying this was kind of garbage time that we were commenting on, like it was like an.
Oh yeah.
But
if there was fantasy Ashes, you would have got so many garbage time points.
So I have a question, and we were talking about this a little bit at the end of the game. We were curious, like why you were loading up on status tokens rather than using the pings and the like to save your life from bear or whatever and to get some damage on.
I was trying to calculate like how I could get the most blood points, and I thought that if I could trick Jesse into passing main, I could pass with more status tokens going into the next round. Does that make sense?
No.
That's the perfect answer. I love it.
So, yeah, I mean, the game was essentially over when he drew second concentration, second hound book in round 1.
That's what we thought.
Like, I was ready to concede.
We were talking.
I think that I'm an underdog in general because the only way that I win this matchup is by having Knight in play, I think.
So, I thought you were an underdog as well. The reason is because, his pings, like whether he got Awakened State or first, he got it slightly first. he could take advantage on the board while you can't.
Right.
So, but another point, we thought you had a little bit of a comeback when you came into the next round with Master Vamp, and he had nothing. That body inversion particle shield play was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he did it, I'm like, oh, well, I guess he gets to keep his 3-1. But I think he would have actually put me in the ground faster if he hadn't played the body inversion and just made second hound that turn.
That's probably true.
That's true, but it's not cool.
But it's not.
Yeah, right. It's not as cool. Great. So I'm just. It's all about my suffering, is what we're.
Yeah. Now this is good. Now he's getting it. I have another line question for you as well, Neil. Towards the end there, you're staring down a Shadowhound and you got a bear on the other end of the board. We know you've got Hammer Knight in hand. What was the reason that you held back? What was in Jesse's hand that you knew about that prevented you from windmill slamming that Hammer Knight?
Me trying to get blood points.
Got it.
If I was trying to edge out my victory, I would have played Hammer Knight. But there's no way of winning that game. And I guess since I should have tried to win. Actually the blood points were wrong now that I go back and think about it. Because going into the 3 loss bracket, I have no chance of making top 8, so my blood points are not very important. So I guess I should have just tried. But I think I should have just first 5 to Hammer Knight. And just dared him to start fadeaway.
Sure. Because
he has no way to kill Hammer Knight in round 1.
No.
I guess he did get second book online, so I would have had to start Root Armor too. But that was one of my potential starts was Concentration, Salamander, Butterfly, Hammer Knight, Root Armor.
Yeah, we were curious why you didn't start Bear as well.
I just thought it was too bad to just trade Bear into 3-1 stock every time.
Yeah.
I think you actually trade up to that though, because he spends 3 dice, you spend 2, and then you have something on board that can actually start trading a little bit.
Yeah, I started the Frostfang obviously in my first 5. That was this was my hedge night, where I wasn't brave enough to play a 3 dice unit into fadeaway. And I had kind of convinced myself that Bear wasn't good, but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I started Frostfang because he essentially has to trade the Shadowhound with it or nothing.
So there was a bit of a mind game going on.
Yeah,
he started a Fade Reflection to stop the Nature's Wrath, but you were worried he would start a fadeaway to stop your Knight. So there was a bit of a mind game going on.
Yeah, I knew he was going to have one of the preventions. Even if he didn't first 5, it's very likely that in the number of cards that Orric draws, he draws one because he's playing 6. 6 things that prevent the one from Nature's Wrath. And I didn't start the Nature's Wrath. I drew it off the Orric.
Right.
Oh, nice.
And he knew I had it because I showed it to him on the Meditate. I drew off the Insight.
I missed that Meditate.
We were busy making jokes about kicking you out of your own show, and we missed a couple of the Meditates there.
Yeah, my plan was just Meditate for second concentration. That was my plan.
You guys played this game. German made the comment that you guys were playing it very fast. So good on you guys for knowing your plays, but that was a very quick back and forth game.
My entire plan, and this was my thing. It was if I'm gonna win this game, Jesse has to miss on second book of one of the 2, Concentration or Hound. That didn't happen. So then I was on okay, well, his last 3 cards in his deck have to be fadeaway. Because I need to stick a Knight. And that didn't happen. But it kind of did. I just played it was going to, and I got to keep it for 1 turn. And that's probably about as good as I could do. Unfortunately, it was Vamp and not Hammer Knight.
Right.
Okay,
and,
can I ask one?
And you know what? I do think, real quick, Carl, I do think that analysis is pretty sound, Neil. And your pregame coverage, I kind of agreed with you that you were on the back foot in this one. But I will say, actually seeing how that played out, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but I wonder how much closer that game gets, man, if you aren't thinking about blood points quite as early as you think about them. Because there were several points in that game where Carl and I were looking at, and we really did think that it was neck and neck.
I felt pretty good. I felt pretty good. Honestly, I was just demoralized when he played his Dispel. Because I had spent I played it first, actually. So, but this is why I was demoralized, because I drew 7 cards in round 1 and didn't hit second concentration. He drew 2 extra cards and hit concentration Shadow Book. And then by the time we got to the round where he put himself on 6 counters, which I don't think is what you should do. I think you should go to 5, knowing your opponent has the potential Dispel, so that then when you're at 5, you can go main side to go to 7 and get Awaken, even if they Dispel you.
Right.
So I was at 5. I didn't have the Dispel in hand, and he was at 6. So I was like, okay, I have to concentrate side action here, and I don't know whether Dispel is a main or a side action, so I had to go to Ashes Live, look up Dispel, see if it's a main or a side, so I knew which part of concentration I had to do. And I drew it. I was like, yes, this is going to be so great. You get to tell this story afterward? And then Jesse just like Dispels me right back, and I'm like, oh, God.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. Oh.
We were telling chat, like, if Dispel is your card, like if Dispel is your boy, it never gets better. Like, it's downhill for Dispel from here on in through the rest of the history of Ashes.
I mean, I'm not playing Dispel for this matchup. I actually put the Dispel in my deck because in testing, I just got trounced every time somebody played a Root Armor. Just absolutely put in the dirt in every testing game against Root Armor, because I can't get the damage on for Fester. So like my deck does nothing, and so I put this Dispel in to fight the Root Armor. Like, I bet this is good in the Orric matchups too.
So, for what it's worth, Neil, before the game, I was like, I'm gonna get so hyped when I see Dispel at 6 counters, and then you played it. I was like literally off of my seat, and then Jesse played it. I was like, I was still excited.
He played it right back, and then it was like nothing happened. The most hype play of the night for Carl, totally blanked.
Yeah, it kind of broke my heart too. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't think I was going to win that game even with the Dispel, but yeah, I mean, the game was fun, and it certainly like tested my limits. Like I was like just struggling with it. You're right that like if I wasn't worried about blood points, which in hindsight I shouldn't have been, I should have played Hammer Knight in round. What round was this? 4?
5.
The game ended. Okay, I should have played it in round 4, and then again I should have played it in round 5.
Yeah.
But I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It was fun.
It was a really good game. It really was. Shadowfire's in chat. He was saying that he wished that we had talked a little bit more about the play-by-play of the game because he couldn't follow it. But he did say that it was fun listening to German and to Carol.
To Carol.
Shout out
sorry
to
about
Carol
that,
for being.
I think we're even now that you got my name. But I'm sorry.
It's good to have you on the show, Carol. It really is.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming in and doing this. I don't know if Jesse's talking because he hasn't said anything this whole time.
He's talking, but he's muted.
So
okay, he's been muted since the end of the game, and
there we go. Hey, I've hit the mute button like 4 times, and my microphone was not unmuted. So we didn't want to listen to you anyway. So yeah,
we weren't listening to you.
No, you're totally fine. So,
God, I didn't realize that we were on camera. Did you guys just like see how awkward I am, like rocking out to music while I play?
We didn't look at the chat that much because
Okay.
we wanted to commentate with without hand knowledge.
yeah.
Well, oh, you didn't look at the stream at all. Okay, I was like,
we did a few times, and it looked like you were kind of like rocking around, laughing a tiny bit, and then Jesse was like so intense in the game.
I always get so intense when I play games, dude. Like my wife makes fun of me so much even when I'm playing video games because I get my video game face on. I don't even know I'm doing it. It's just like I just like zone.
My brother does something similar. My brother like he sticks his tongue out when he's playing like he's Michael Jordan.
hey man,
I love it. I love it.
If it was gonna be lame until you said like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Now he's just the champ. Like he's just
seriously like best in the game, greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, I just like always put on music. So if you guys like Ash Tech me during the week and I don't talk to you, like 80% of the time I don't want to Discord because I'm at work and I'm supposed to be working. But the other 20% of the time,
do that.
The other 20% of the time, I just like always just put on tunes and just like rock out.
Yeah,
There you go.
I usually have a podcast on in the background.
Carl, if we were
Jesse,
going to...
I was talking about the hype plays we saw, and I'm sure you heard this because you were on. But that so two things that
oh man,
that fake reflection when he had it set up perfectly to destroy your board was awesome. Thanks. And that even though we kind of talked, it might not have been the best play, but it was the coolest play. The body inversion particle shield was like so cool. I was like, why are you body inversioning? And then I see particle shield, and I'm like, I got so hyped. It was so cool.
It was really good.
Well, I was like, I'm not sure this is actually the best play if he plays a knight, but I wasn't sure if he was just like baiting me. You know what I mean? Like he just kept holding 3 dice for knight, and I'm like, I'm just going to give up on the knight. I have the fade away. If he plays it, I'm going to deal with the knight in the next round. I can always fade the knight away if he gets out of control. And then when he played root armor on the vampire, I was like, well, now I'm definitely fading. But, you know, I had a thought that I could kind of hunt that knight down in the next round if I needed to.
That's what Carl was saying.
Yeah. So I kind of felt like if he did play knight after I played the Shadowhound, like, worst case scenario, he heals 1 if it's a vampire. Best case scenario, he, like, takes out my Shadowhound and a Butterfly Monk. Like it's not great, but it was like, well, if I keep the Hound around, it represents a real threat. He's got to invest some dice into the Hound or not, right? And that was kind of where I like
how I didn't know this, but I like how your hand was just like Typhoon, 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 Fate Reflection, Fade Away, Fade Away.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
Obviously, there's only 2 cards left or whatever, so I knew you.
Yeah, Neil, you have 3 Typhoons in hand. It shows how ahead you are on board.
Yeah, Neil, no kidding. When we were saying that you had a shot there, Neil, looking at those 3 Typhoons, we may have been overstating that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, the Typhoons are like I told Jesse before the tournament, like I didn't think he needed 3 Typhoons because the Hound like clears it up so good on its own. As you saw in this game, where I have a bunch of 1 life guys and literally none of them could survive ever.
I kicked myself for 1 misplay, like when I ice trapped your.
I couldn't believe you played ice trap at all.
Yeah, I was like,
I was so happy when you discarded a card to my things instead of just activating Shadowhound.
Well, yeah, I like ice trap here. Number 1, the deck has a problem with. It doesn't have great ways to dig, like when you play Ancestor Spirit or Sympathy in the deck, so you just can't keep digging through the deck after your hand gets full like this. So Concentrate is my only draw. So essentially I give up, like, draw 5 a turn to draw 3 a turn unless I'm doing something else like playing cards from hand to draw cards. So
I'll be honest, I considered discarding 3 cards in round 2, or going into round 3, just to try to draw the Dispel.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, you know, speaking of that, Neil, you have now ended your streak of not playing Ancestor Spirit. It did come down.
That's true. I would have rather not played it. I would have rather not drawn it, actually. But I hadn't, like, that turn, I had an extra Sympathy dice and an extra battle, like, spellboard slot, and I'm like, I guess making the guy is better than, like, horse drawing. So
yeah.
But my mistake was I was awakened, and after I ice trapped the salamander, I just made bear and let you small sack exhaust my bear, and that was just I awakened. I wasn't supposed to do that, and I just forgot to hit the awakened state. Like it was just like thinking through my next move, and just thought I had done it, and I hit end turn and went, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely had a big impact on the game.
Yeah.
You know, Neil, but kind of that play, the Ancestor Spirit, it's kind of in my opinion, it's kind of a parable for Orric, like in miniature. Like you pack a card, they can like filter and theoretically get stuff and all that, but at the end of the day, like the card that you needed most, that Dispel, like you drew it off of Concentrate. Like Concentrate's going to do the work of finding that stuff for you.
Yeah,
it's so good at that.
Yeah, the Ancestor Spirit, like one thing that I thought might get me a little ways ahead in the game was by starting the hyper cheap first 5. Mm-hmm. I got to do a couple horsepowers, and right. I was really hoping to run into like me having just like +2 cards on Jesse in play at the end of round 1, which may have actually happened. I don't know, but it like wasn't in a fashion that affected the board enough. I was happy that I meditated past those Festers at the beginning, because Fester is terrible in this matchup.
Right.
But it just like I went through 4 cards before I picked up the Nature's Wrath off of Insight, and I'm like, this is not going to be a good game.
Yeah.
Like,
we were talking a little bit about when Orrick first dropped, the win percentage felt low, and the public perception of him was that he wasn't great. But now that we're a couple months in and we're seeing players take him into a very competitive Shufflebus field, I think some of that early struggle with him can just be explained by the fact that the piloting ceiling on this guy is just so high. And it was a pleasure to watch this game because you guys have clearly put in the work. And records notwithstanding, like I don't know if you guys are both mathematically eliminated from cut, but it's very apparent.
I don't think Jesse is with that win.
You guys know these decks, and you guys have a pulse a little bit on what makes Orrick tick, and watching that go is awesome. Like, this is such a cool Phoenix Born, man.
It was a really fun match to watch.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. Like, that's high praise. Of course.
So
I mean,
going into this, I was actually really worried about your Orrick, this small sack, this really, I think it's kind of revolutionary Orrick. You're making small sack good. You're being able to like pivot your first go, like the game goes by what you focus. I think it's a really revolutionary deck, and it's super flexible, and I'm impressed by it. But I want to know your thoughts on, like, now that you're going into week 6. You did a ton of testing with it. Where do you think this specific Orrick deck stands?
Well, I miscalled the meta from my point of view anyway. Like, when we looked at the deck lists going into the season, I was pretty excited because a lot of what I saw looked similar to what I had tested against and been pretty happy with against. That was not what I played. Like, when and even the games that I won was not like what I tested against or what the deck was built for. Like, I won against the Fallen list because I think that matchup is just like 90-10 in favor of my deck. Like, it has to be just brutally impossible to lose. And that's nothing to say to the Fallen deck. The Fallen deck, I think, is good. That's a bad matchup for it. Because I make more 1/1s in it, and I have a jillion pings. But I played against both Odettes, which just crushed me. Like, and that was kind of how I felt about Jesse's deck. Like the thing that's good against my deck, and to Carl's point when he was describing my deck, is my deck is very flexible at all stages of the game because of Orrick's ability to see such a high percentage of the cards in your pile. So against the decks that are go wide decks, or the decks that are like no removal decks, I can play a Knight, I can stick it, I can do some funny stuff with Armor and Flame, like, and just still get to Awaken State just fine. Against the tall decks, I have the Small Sacrifice and Fester and stuff. But it's the decks that are just like solely answers, that like Odette has Sword and Enter the Fray, and that just killed me. Like, I can't go on the Knight plan, I can't go on the Small Sacrifice plan because I get beat on either avenue. And Jesse's deck did that too, where he has a bunch of pings and stuff to deal with the like Small Sacrifice type plan, like, and obviously the fadeaways to deal with the Knights. And the fadeaways aren't as, he can choose the first 5-1 and maybe it's less consistent than like the Odette or whatever, but that is what I felt was a bad matchup for me, and it has proven to be correct. But like, when I played against like Lulu's and 4-book Aerodels, I thought the matchup was pretty close. The Lulu specifically, I thought that I had a good matchup against. The Aerodels, I had a good matchup against as long as they didn't have both Mindfog and Bear. If that, then it's harder but not impossible. I don't know. I just love piloting this deck. Even if it's not great,
it's fun to watch you do it. And to your point and your testing, I gotta say, 4 seasons in personally to Shufflebus, I can't think of something that surprised me about deck list reveal more in any of the seasons than there only being 3 Lulus in Shufflebus 5.
We definitely missed that also.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
For sure.
well, and also it's worth pointing out that Carl said in Shufflebus 4 that he was 100% committed to Lulu for Shufflebus 5, and then he brought Koji Creepers. So how can we trust Carl, really? I
You
think is a
can't.
good.
We can't trust
Yeah.
Carol. We can't trust
So-
Carol with anything. That's all there is to it.
You can't. But like my Lulu deck was all focused on these 0 life units, and then everyone was countering them, and it partly
Yeah.
was my fault. I was testing the deck way too much. So, and then I was like, everyone's gonna. I was just gonna lose with it. Everyone was countering it. It was just a
And that what Carl just said is a specific reason why I think we didn't see as many Lulus, because there are 3 Lulus, but there's 11 4-books if you count Lulu and Aerodel.
Right.
So people shifted to Aerodel because of Cobra, because of I guess maybe because of Lizard, but because of Cobra and Owl, and then the fear of Lizard or Ashford, I guess.
I think my biggest takeaway from playing Orric this season has just been you get to see such a high percentage of your deck that the skill is difficult, and it does have some variance, right? Like you have to live with the variance that exists when you play something like this, particularly when you play like trying to focus Concentrate or focus Hound or whatever. But the variance averages work out generally pretty well. I mean, my first matchup against Clue, the variance didn't work out well, and I still played a decent game, but not like I just was too far behind on board. And to your point, Neil, when you talk about pulling the Mist Typhoons because Shadowhound takes care of that, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So sometimes you still need the Mist Typhoons. I've cast many Mist Typhoons in this tournament to regain the board and still continue to dig through my deck to try to find the answer pieces that turn this deck on. My 2 losses both came when my focused hounds came on round 3 instead of round 1 or 2, and my concentrates didn't come online for 3rd copy at all before I was dead. So I mean that's what you buy when you play Orric, right? You buy.
Yeah.
So yeah, in general, I think that like my deck specifically was built to hit Awakened State in round 3, which it did. And this is how all my games have looked, even in testing, where like I end up with 0 cards in the deck and like 6 to 8 cards in hand, and that's what I'm playing with for like the remainder of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, you see the whole deck. It's so easy to just draw your whole deck. And to me, playing Orric like this feels like playing like Magic or one of the more traditional card games. Because you don't have to like assume that you're, I guess you just have a hand of cards, which is more like Magic. You know, like when you're playing Orric, you draw 0 to 2 cards on your draw step usually, because by round 2 or 3 or whatever, you just have a hand full already, and you can't possibly play them all. And so you're much more likely to play the game as like you just draw 1 card on your upkeep and you do your best to like outcard your opponent. And usually you get to, because so many of your cards are so valuable. Like when you draw 8 cards or whatever, you can still play like 4 of them for free because they're all spell board. Like look at our spell boards.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like it's, I don't know, it's
10 and 11 cards, right? I mean,
it's crazy.
And I would say my spell boards look very similar to this. It's just not always the right books, right? Sometimes I have 3 butterfly books, you know.
Well, yeah, you end up with like this hodgepodge of whatever you started with in your pile.
Jesse, I have a question for you.
Sure.
And you would know more than me because I played next to 0 at Orric. When looking at your hand, and it's just staring right at us, these 3 Mist Typhoons.
Yeah.
Do you think your point of seeing so much of your deck, do you think going 3x is a bad idea since you see so much of it anyways?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think in hindsight, I would cut a Mist Typhoon, probably 1. I don't know if I would go away from 3x of everything. Like, specifically in my deck, Fate Reflection and Particle Shield. Like, playing Hound is you're spending 3 dice, and it's a super giant liability to any AoE, which just exists throughout the meta, right? And obviously, Meteor's the only card that really scares you, right? You can't do anything about a Meteor, but it's also telegraphed enough that you can kind of try to play around it, and in illusion you can force yourself around it through an illusion
Right.
power die. So at that point, like, all I'm really hoping to do out of Hound is get something for value and get an attack of value to kill things, to try to trade at least 3 or 4 dice with my opponent that way. But if the Hound doesn't get focused, the Mist Typhoons don't get clogged in my hand. But at this point, I knew I was getting close to, like, quote unquote decking, right? So like I was like, I might as well just let these sit in my hand, and if there is a moment where something happens and I get behind, at least I've got like a bailout scenario. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's some changes and tweaks I'd make to this deck post season, and that would be probably cutting down to 2 Mist Typhoons because it's less important. I kind of want to add a 2 Shadows into this list because to Neil's point, you know, like, Fadeaway is slow and it's really exposed to other good things in the meta, like Polarity Mage. So, you know, you risk, like, oh, if your opponent has Polarity Mage, you probably can't play Fadeaway. But I did beat a 11 deck with
I like the Fadeaway, I think, better than the 2 Shadows. Because this deck is so stretched on side actions. And maybe it splits okay, but like they essentially do the same thing because both of them happen like after the thing gets used.
Yeah.
And the fadeaway has the upside of like maybe you through some crazy magic you get it and it can't attack for some reason, so then you get it and it can't be used. The 2 Shadows doesn't have that really.
Sure. Yeah, it's been an interesting. I mean, one of the things that I do like when you put a fadeaway on, like I did with the Master Vampires, I sort of made Neil do things, right? Because he was kind of stalling at that point in the game, and like putting a fadeaway on the knight means like if he passes and I pass, then he gets no value from his knight. So
you put me in a situation where I had to attack with it essentially,
right? Even
if it was into nothing. And at that point, after it had eaten a bear, I was okay getting the 3 damage out of it.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't ideal. Carl, I think definitely you should not play 3-ofs, assuming that your deck is answers. If your deck, Jesse's deck is much more proactive, like it has its plan and that's what it does. And then 3-ofs are a little better, though the Mist Typhoon specifically like is kind of an answer, so maybe that's not good. But yeah, like I cut a Nature's Wrath. Like I was on 3 Nature's Wrath and I was like, man, I need space for this other thing. And
I think if I was going to redo anything from the 3X, the only 3Xs I have are Ice Trap, Fate Reflection, and Mist Typhoon, and Fadeaway.
Yeah.
I would probably... I like the Ice Traps a ton, because one of the things that this deck isn't guaranteed is to be a 4-book deck, where you can play 4 units every round. It's just because you only start with 3 in play, and you sort of have to, like, dive or try to get into the 4th copy of a book through Orric, and you will eventually, but you don't know when. And so it's easy to get behind on... It's easy to get behind on 4 books. Like, even if they stick, like, a Gilder, like it's a real problem for you, like over the course of many rounds, right? So you kind of have this extra assurance of like, well, this is just taking care of those. And I've been really happy with Ice Trap all season, just using it on anything and everything. As you saw here, like I used it in its worst form. Like it was literally the worst against Salamander Monk, but I was still happy to use Ice Trap on Salamander Monk here. And I think that's been my biggest takeaways is just, obviously I would probably like to get to a 3rd Particle Shield and cut down 1 Fate Reflection. I think I'd like to switch those 2 around because Particle Shield is more versatile, and the best that I'm getting out of Fate Reflection in this deck is reflecting 1 in most cases, although sometimes, like I did get to reflect a Earthquake in 1 match against a bear, and that was, it feels pretty good when you do that. But I
think it's interesting how everybody was very high on Fate Reflection when we first saw it, and now that it's actually hit the meta, I think people are realizing like, oh yeah, it's every bit as good as we thought it was. But then they're also looking back at Particle Shield and go, I think I've been underrating this card. Like,
Particle Shield is way underrated,
right?
Yeah. I like that. That's been coming up. It's not that Fate Reflection is bad or underperforming. It's just, why aren't we using Particle Shielders? That's a good point.
Yeah, I played Particle Shield in 4-book in Season 2. It's the problem with Particle Shield is just that, like,
it's an illusion.
There's not core illusion decks.
Yeah.
And
I'm working on it. That's what I'm doing here.
No kidding. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you one more question, Neil?
Yeah,
if you
go
don't
ahead.
mind. I don't want to like take this up in an interview.
You're good, dude.
Your
Keep going.
When you tested it, you said you were worried about mill, and you said you deck out a lot. Is this deck usually? Is it that worry of mill still a thing?
So I did a couple things because in testing I was getting beat by mill, but I actually found that if I milled myself faster, I was more likely to win. Like, because we just get in a situation like this, so against everything that's not Ash Spirit, like, I guess like double focused Orchid Dove, like I don't actually die. I just put like 10 cards in my hand and sit on 0 cards in deck and play a long time because the spell board is so fat. That I still think that mill or burn or some combination of that is probably the worst matchup for this deck.
Burn is Orric's bane for sure,
but like it's not just burn. It has to be burn plus some pressure.
Right.
So like the milling is some pressure, or like battlefield plus burn, that kind of thing. But the milling specifically, to your question, like I was getting beat by mill at the beginning. I think more because I didn't understand the matchup as well as I do now. And I do still think that you do go through your pile really fast. And if you get a concentration milled specifically, that's pretty rough.
Yep.
But that's about the only thing. The rest of the cards, like even the butterflies or the small sacks or whatever, I'm okay getting those milled. And like it's just kind of a knowledge of how the game's going to play out kind of situation, because I haven't found and I haven't played against like an abundance deck really. I guess that would be another thing that punishes you for having no cards in your pile.
Well, focus dove does as well, right? Like if the dove is focused, you're in trouble.
It's double focus dove, right?
Yeah, because the first focus only makes it a basic cost, and it's the second.
Yeah,
so damage. Yeah.
And you're right. So those specific things that like those 3 cards, Ash Spirit, Dove, and Abundance, that punish you having no cards in deck, like those would be cards that I think I'm worried about. But
and they're
the
not
actual
everywhere.
just like right. Just like Leo, as long as the Finch doesn't hit the concentration, like I'm just like, do whatever you want, man. Like
sure, yeah.
I don't care about Glowfinch. I'm gonna hit Awakened State, and Awakened State is much more efficient at killing you than you trying to like fatigue me out.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's more efficient at killing you than anything. So.
Yeah, I mean, not quite everything, but you're right. I mean, once you get there, it's pretty hard to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, unless your opponent also gets there the same turn. Like,
yeah.
Oh man. Well, Carl, I think if we wanted to truly get our mutiny off the ground here, we probably should have hacked their Twitch account, because as it turns out, they can shut us off whenever they want. So
the power of the producer over here. The producer's always got all the power in media, man.
Does Dijon or Skak have those hacking skills that we could get on them?
Yeah, they probably do.
Dang it, we should have had more collusion. More co-conspirators. That's what this mutiny was missing.
Right.
Dang it.
That's right.
If you guys want to take over the streams, as long as you do them Tuesday, Thursday every week, I'm down. Like, I will sit back and watch.
Oh, man. See, awesome. you get drunk on a quest for power, and you don't remember what the power.
With great power comes.
It's like in Aladdin. He's like, unlimited cosmic power, itty bitty living space. Like,
that's exactly right.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and take off here.
All right.
And, hey, we really appreciate you guys.
Yeah,
doing
thank
this
you so much.
That was great.
It was a ton of fun being on, and I had a ton of fun watching the comments in the game. I hope people had fun listening.
It was Carl. It was an absolute pleasure to joke around with you, man. So thanks for agreeing to do. I was literally just trolling when I posted this in Discord this morning, and then it ended up happening, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks for agreeing to it, man.
Oh yeah, man, it was awesome. It's always nice hanging out with you.
Cool, awesome. All right, we're gonna jump out of here, guys. Thanks.
Have a good stream. Thank you.
See you, everyone.
See ya.
All right, well, that's it. That was the takeover with German and Carl. Thank you so much to those guys for for doing that. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So, Neil, thank you for a match. Appreciate it. I did live above the curve today, so I'm happy that happened.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't real excited about playing this matchup to begin with because of all the things that Carl and German and us talked about. But yeah, I mean, could you have had a better draw?
No. Well, I mean, I have had better, but not by deep, not by much. I have put triple focus hound down in round 1 before.
Yeah. I mean, you meditated once and missed. You meditated again, drew Shadowhound Book. I'm like, okay, I can beat a Shadowhound Book. This is gonna be fine. And then you activated Concentrate, and the following turn you played Concentrate. And I'm like, no way. Like, you can't draw Concentrate off the Concentrate too.
Yeah, well, you can't.
And then the real nail in the coffin was the goddamn Dispel, because I had drawn so many cards.
Well, and I drew it too. I didn't have it in hand, so that was the last Concentrate activate for that round. I'm like, there's the Dispel. I'm like, sweet. Like, this is as good as it gets. But
my own technology. I shouldn't have told you about that.
Yeah, I mean, I was worried. So I was worried about the mirror. I was worried about the Orric mirror. I didn't know how many Orrics there would be, but I was also
there were many.
This deck has a hard time against a root armored snake. That was what I was also fighting. Was this root armored snake?
Because you only have the same number of fadeaways that they have golden bells.
Right. And so you have to have some other way to get there, right? And so one way to get there is for the hound to be able to ping the snake, and then the snake go eat it, or the hound go eat the snake. But you can't do that if it's root armored. So I was like, I need some way, and obviously I wasn't in color to support, any other removal. Like, there's nothing else that you can really use. Like you can cut the strings, but that feels really bad. So I was like a one-of Dispel felt like the right plan for me to be able to take over a snake matchup.
Yeah, the root armor was my reasoning too. The Orric thing was just I mean,
it's an added value, and I have used Dispel this season on a root armor removal. It's really good for that.
I actually cast Dispel one other time this season.
Yeah.
And it was in the matchup against Fallen that I was already crushing. I took 2 counters off a Fallen book just for the memes. It was totally unnecessary.
Jeez, man, that's rough. I mean, I think it has some value plays against if you're one of the things that I worry about is a Stallion Frostback Bear deck, the combination of 2 big units. I have a hard time answering over and over and over again.
I don't like it against Stallion, really.
Well, you can take the counters away. Thing. No, but it takes the counters away. And inversion can kill it. That's where I sort of see the play is if it's a 2 counter Stallion, I can spend 2 dice to kill the Stallion. So if
you draw that mid game, that's fine. I don't think that anyone should plan on playing Dispel just if Stallions are good. That's not going to get you anywhere.
I would not first 5 Dispel in any scenario at all.
I was so hoping that you would first 5 Dispel in this match. I was like, God, I hope he first 5s it.
No,
that's the way that I win is you.
I actually, I don't remember if I first 5 the Fate Reflection or the Fadeaway, but I ended up on one of them from draw. So I don't remember which one I first 5 and which one I had. I had both because I thought you might open a night, and I was like, well, but I was more worried about spending dice on my hound and just getting Nature's Wrath, and that feels really bad. So I think I did start the Fate Reflection. And then I just wish I'd have started Particle Shield over Fate Reflection.
Yeah, I did my best to play to where there were no guys for you to reflect to.
Right. Yeah, you definitely did. There was a couple of times where I'm like, either I'm going to Fate Reflect for 0 or I'm just going to eat this damage. And, you just decide. I mean, it's a decision point. I was kind of hoping you'd play one more, if you played a unit out into my Anchor Knot, the Inflame would be a cheeky kill your guy kind of thing, but that just...
I couldn't believe you played it to attack. That was, that dice could have just been a Butterfly Monk.
I know. It was just for... Well,
which also would have done 1 to me.
Yeah, but I had to actually concentrate one more time to have enough tokens to get there for Molten Gold range, so I was like, this allows me to side action and make a main, and then I still am in a place where I can, main action, concentrate, side action, awaken, and then be prepared for the Molten Gold to win the game.
Yeah, it didn't matter at that point. We were past the point of playing the game.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I continue to be impressed with Hound when I don't have to invest a lot into the focus effect. And
right. That just means you're impressed with Orric.
Right. Well, that's 100% what I'm getting at here. Like, every time I play a non-Orric Phoenixborn now, I'm like, God, I want to just draw a bunch of cards and make something work. And you can't do that anywhere else. You just can't.
Yeah, it's difficult. There are like abundance or abundance and gate starts that do a similar thing.
Sure.
But it doesn't. There aren't a lot of Phoenixborns that like get there like that, because Orric does what you wish you could do as any Phoenixborn, which is like take a dice from round 1 and spend it in round 4.
Right.
Like you charge up this awaken state, and like imagine if there was a card that like that just said like
earthquakes.
that just said like put a dice, like if there was just like a ready spell or something that was like put a dice on it, kind of like Royal Charm or something, but then like in the following round you can spend that dice. Card would be absolutely bonkers. Right. And Orric isn't quite that good, but it's pretty similar, because you save up to where like all of a sudden you have 7 counters on you or 8 counters on you, and you're like, oh well, I get to take a whole turn, and then also during this turn I'm doing an action that should cost me a dice, but it doesn't.
Right.
As a side action a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's a real investment of your resources, and it is tricky. I mean, man, is it tricky.
Carl, I would say that it's kind of the reverse of that, where like if you get a Magic player into Ashes, they will really enjoy playing Orric, but it's just like you can play Orric at level 1, where you're in mode of like, I'm going to do everything I can to get to Awaken State, and you'll do okay. But to really like have fun playing Orric, I think that you need to understand some fundamental things about Ashes in general.
Yeah, I would agree with
rather than just like come in and jump into Orric. Because the other problem is that if you give a new player Orric, they're going to learn to play Orric, and maybe they're really good at it. But that's going to like not make you good at playing Ashes in general. Because if all you've played is like 20 games of Orric, and then all of a sudden you go play like, I don't know,
Odette.
Yeah, Odette's a good example. Like something that's pretty obvious. It's gonna feel weird, because you're just not gonna like. It doesn't play in the same way at all.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I think people should get excited about Orric. Obviously, people were excited about Orric because we had 8 of them.
Right. I'll be curious. I'm sure that, and it seems like an Orric will make top 8, and I think we're pretty accurate.
Are any of them at 1 loss? I don't think any of them are defeated.
No, but Leonard III has got the highest current ranking.
And he has 2 losses?
2 losses, yeah. So okay. I don't know how he did in this round yet.
Well, then it's going to be...
It'll either be me or Leonard. That would be the only opportunity.
Right, yeah. So I would say that it's like... And nothing against either of you guys. I just think that it's probably not very likely that Orric make top 8, because we only have 2 that... And he has 3 now, so he can't even... It's only you. You have to win your next round to put an Orric in top 8.
Well,
and even then you might not have
breakers, right? Yeah, right. So the thing is that one of my opponents was undefeated till today. Clue.
Oh, Nick is 3-2. Okay, so Nick has a chance.
Nick has a chance as well. Nick and I are both 3-2 then. Okay, so
yeah,
and I think Nick's is probably the better deck. But when I look at Nick,
he definitely has the most experience playing Orric of anyone, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I just when I look at Nick's deck, I don't think I know how to play it. Like, if I look at it and I tried to, like I'm going to use a physical term, but if I sleeved that deck up and sat down at a table with it, I'd go, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, it looks really hard. And, like, one of my problems, and I told this to pretty much everybody when I started this season, like, when I built this deck, it was because I was having so much fun playing Orric, and I couldn't find anything else I was happy with competitively. And I wasn't happy with this deck competitively at all. Like, I said, I really honestly came into the season expecting to go 0-6. Like, that's really what I thought. But I was going to have a lot of fun going 0-6 with it, is what I felt like. But I kind of learned...
If you draw like that, it's going to be tough to go 0-6.
Well, yeah, for sure, right? I mean, but I've only had one game like this in 5, right? The other 4 games, I had to work for it. Like, I really had to work for it. But
Ouch.
sorry, man. I'm sorry, but I mean that's average, right? This is the average of this deck. Like I figured out that in round 1, I'm gonna get my Shadowhound book 1 out of every 4 games, or I'm gonna get my Concentration 1 out of 4 games, or I'm gonna get them both 1 out of every like 6 games. So I'm pretty much on average right now. So when you like look at it from that perspective, and you go, okay, there's gonna be good and there's gonna be bad. You have to have a plan to be able to play the game if your plan doesn't come together the way you want it to. This deck doesn't at all. Like it kind of does, but it's rough when Hounds doesn't come together and Concentrate doesn't come together.
Yeah, when it's just a 3/1 stock, it's tough to stabilize because you
have no. It's not. There's no sticky power on it.
Otherwise,
yeah, there's no sticky power on it, and your opponent can be super efficient on the kill. So anyways, as I'm saying all this, like when I was testing this, I originally started with this with Sympathy in it. I had 2 Sympathy dice in it. And I was testing some Sympathy cards to go alongside it. Not to anybody's surprise, Salamander Monk and Ancestor Spirit were there. And a couple of other things on the back end, like Crescendo for the Bear, and, just things to open up the board, right? And, like, bottom line is that it was so stretched for dice, and because of the Hound having a 3 dice cost, that I really had to go down to 2 dice to make it work. I really had to. I had no choice. Like I could not. I just found myself making too many misplays of like concentrating away a die I needed later in the round, and it's hard to foresee that. It's really hard to foresee that in play.
Concentrate is a very difficult card to play, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
The easy mode is like just do it early and try and guess.
Yeah,
but it's the mid round ones that I think are very hard.
This is 100% like the easiest mode for it, in my opinion, because you pick either you need more nature or you need more illusion, depending on your matchup.
Right. I mean, the card is obviously very good, and the card lets you do some wacky stuff, because I was playing versions of this deck that had like 1 dice of 2 other colors or something. Sure. It was like a 5 color. And you can still just like play all your cards because of Concentrate. But you have to be really careful with it. You don't get to concentrate early. You have to concentrate late.
Right.
But I don't know. Orrick is a weird thing. I think that we've shown that he's fair, not OP.
Right.
Because all the Orrick decks, as far as I know, have like middling records.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think, like 3/3 in the Shufflebus tournament, that's a competitive deck.
Yeah, for sure.
But if we're like trying to like win the meta or whatever, it might not be the one to play right now. So because of how Orrick works, it's very possible that we're just missing like the best Orrick deck by a lot.
Yeah,
because you can play anything. I think
that's where I'm at with Orrick as well. I think that if our meta stabilizes and we go a long period of time before we get the next 2 Phoenixborn, I don't know how long that's going to be. Nobody knows right now. Then I think there's a chance that Orrick gets better.
Well, he'll be better in general because he tends to be a control deck, and as the meta settles, the control decks will get better.
Right.
Because the answers will be more like you'll know what.
German, I think we had Nick on stream round 1. Just as a response to your, would love to get Nick on stream next round. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to host Nick anytime he wants to play. He knows that. Sometimes that doesn't work for the opponent, whatever it may be. But I'm pretty sure round 1 is Nick. Because I'm pretty sure we put Nick on. Give me a second and I'll just tell you for sure here. It's very possible I'm mixing things up too, because obviously there's a lot of coverage that happens. And no, it was round 2. Pretty sure this is... No, that was you. Oh, that was you in Chaos Theory. Sorry. I
don't remember commentating Nick's deck.
Maybe we didn't this season. Maybe it's from last season.
Have we seen JK007?
No, I don't think we've seen... No, I don't think he's been on yet. What was he playing again? Okay. He's on Xander, right? Or is he on Lulu? Frisbee and JK have not been on. No. Would love for those guys to play on stream. I mean, I'm begging people to play on stream, right? Like, I'm giving away extra entries for the prizes here for people to play on stream. I don't know what else I can do. So I would love for people. I mean, there's still opportunities for this in the Swiss, but once the Swiss is done, the entries are done, and I'm going to start giving away prizes during.
If JK is likely to make top 8, so it's very likely that we'll see him on stream in the top 8.
Yeah.
But during the Swiss, we have not. No.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. I don't think we have seen Nick this season then, because the Orric that I have is your Orric from round 1 with Chaos Theory's Noah. So
yep.
So this is only the second time Orric's been on stream this season.
Yeah, I literally didn't play against any of the decks that I thought I was going to play against, even though there were many of them in the tournament. I played against Noah stuff, Odette, you.
Man, if it makes you feel any better, like I was planning on doing a stream tonight, but Inquisitor couldn't do it, so we played earlier in the week. Yeah, I understand, Shadow. It's tough. So the thing that I take away from a lot of this season,
8 made it in season 1. Yeah, okay. 8 rookies made it top 8 in season 1.
Yeah. Well, that's true, Carl. That's technically true. Look, there is some crazy stuff going on, and I think my record could be different if I hadn't played Xander in round 1 and round 3. Xander is really tough for me, which means that, if I made top 8, there's no way this deck wins, because to your point, it's not the meta crusher. It's just a proactive deck, right? Bottom line, it's just a proactive deck. And sometimes it's going to win games, and sometimes it's going to lose games. I mean, my stats on Ashteki for Orric are kind of funny. Like, I have played 30 Orric games now in total, and I'm 16 and 14 across 30 games. So it's basically a 50-50 deck. And most of these are this deck contesting, right? That's pretty much what this is.
Yeah, I wish that I had played Orric Creepers. That, I think that deck's pretty good.
Yeah.
It didn't do as well in testing as I was too scared to run it because I didn't have nearly as many games,
reps,
and it was just ruined by some
How many
things.
I want to know your stats. Go to your stats in Ashteki.
Oh, I'm sure it's terrible.
No, well, I want to know how many games of Orric you've played up to this point. I'm curious.
Let's see. How do I find these? Oh, stats. I have played 56 games of Orric.
Wow, man, that's a lot.
I'm 27 and 29.
All right. I mean, you're basically 50-50, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this version of the deck I'm playing for Shufflebus is a much higher win rate than 27 and 29. But sure. I also like garbagey Orrics. Just because, Orric garbage is, how I wish all Ashes games were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm way up on Odette. In Ashteki, I played 21 games of Odette in Ashteki, and I'm 14 and 7 with Odette. I still think she is one of the best Phoenixborns in the game.
She's good. I drafted her in round 3.
I am still trying to figure out Lulu. I'm 4 and 7 with Lulu, so out of 11 matches. So Jericho, I'm almost 50-50 with. It's interesting to see those stats.
I can't. That's just insulting to Lulu that you're 50-50 with Jericho and 37 years old.
I can't help it, man. I'm 4 and 7. I have tried various different versions of her, and I just have a hard time getting her to sing correctly. Y'all gonna laugh at me. You want to know how many games of Mayoni I have played in total? I have played 4 games of Mayoni in total. Period. That's it. I'm 3 and 1 with her. But Mayoni is the 3 wins I have are all Ashteki season wins. Those are just
oh yeah.
I played her with in a tethered or the master set tournament or whatever. So I just don't. She's just not my Phoenixborn at all. I'm 10 and 14 with Rin Shadowfire. Just an FYI. I'm still struggling to find a good Rin. That I'm really like. My goal is to find a good deck for all the Phoenix Borns, but I'm not there. German will be happy to know that I'm 100% win rate with Xander at 2-0. I've played 2 matches with Xander, so and I've only played Leo one time. I don't know, another Phoenix Born that I'm just not really all that into. I'm not that into Mill, so that's a real thing. Fiona is your third highest, and you've got a 28% win rate.
That sounds like an impossible German stat right there.
Man, I really if it makes you feel any better, German, I got a 25%.
40 games of Fiona, 28 win percentage.
I've got 25% win rate with Fiona, but I figured that in 4 games that she wasn't very good. What's surprising is I had a lot of success with Harold in AIL, and I've never been able to convert that success since AIL. And my Herald, I've played 7 games of Herald in Ash Techie, and I'm 1-6 with Herald. I don't know. He's changed the way I play the game now. Apparently, I have changed and don't think correctly about Herald.
Herald is just like the play a 2-power guy and wait on Herald is just like not very good anymore because your 2-power guy already trades with all the good threats. You don't need to Hunter's Mark him. That's so then Herald. When Hunter's Mark is not as good, Herald is not as good. That's.
It's been interesting. I very much have enjoyed. I mean, I enjoy playing Herald, but I've been trying to find this really hyper aggressive open Herald that then allows him to go back into like Dirtle control mode after round 1. But the synergy problem is, and maybe I just need to like play Abundance or something. But the problem is that he doesn't. You really can't afford to set up your round, like take setup in round 2 to be control, right? Like you need to set up your control engine in round 1, which means you can't go hyper aggressive. So I was like, I really wanted to try to like do like some sort of quick ally open into Widows, and
because control decks don't care about life advantage. That's the
right. Well, sure, yeah. I mean, you're right. I just thought it would be like one of these things where you could like open fast, set up a control board in round 2, and then like just burn out your opponent in rounds 2, 3, and 4 after that. But you can't do that. Like it just doesn't work. And he's not Orrick, right? So he doesn't draw like 10,000 cards to be able to like pivot easily. And with 3 spellboard, it's a real problem. 3 spellboard is a huge, huge problem overall. I'm struggling with all the 3 spellboard Phoenix Borns lately. Like that extra spellboard slot at 4 and sometimes at 5 is a real advantage. So I think Saria is probably pretty good and just not being played deep yet. I've been more and more impressed with her and Raven.
I don't know. I just think Raven's too expensive for what it is.
Yeah, I mean here's what I see, like, all of these 3 dice summons, but 3 basics is not that expensive. But, like, all of the 3 dice summons are essentially, like, Knight on demand. They're bad Knight on demand, is what they are, right? And so you'd rather play real Knight, always. But if you don't have a real Knight, they're not bad to have sitting there. And 4 spellboard is not a complete detriment to her, and making...
Yeah, I just, like, her Phoenixborn text is very meh. Her loyalty card is I mean, if you're just like Knight on demand, like Knight's only good in 20% of like board states. So,
yeah, Carl says it correctly. I wish I could play Raven into a larger battlefield. Yeah, I mean for sure, right? Like that's her biggest drawback is, but I think she's probably pretty good as a mill Phoenixborn, and
obviously that's what she was intended to be,
right?
Like a bunch of the mill cards are from her pile, right?
Yeah, I think so. But
like I know Abundance is.
But I think her card draw alone is okay. It's not. Carl says I think she's very good and underrated. I just don't like playing as her. Yeah, I think she's definitely underrated. But I can't find the deck. So if somebody's got a deck that they want me to bang some reps on that they think is good, I'm all for it. And just guide me through how to play it. I will gladly go out and pound a bunch of games with it and give you feedback, because
I think it's going to be the kind of deck you like either, though.
No, but I'm interested in it. I don't like Purge Shadowfire, just an FYI. I don't think Neil does either. I'm not a big fan of Purge. I know that it was used in season.
That would be a card that I would play if it had a book text and it was free to activate.
Yes, I think that's the problem.
Because it's the other way around, I don't think it's good.
Yeah. I think that you're better off probably on an abundance plan with Owl and Cobra and just like pull the deck down as fast as you can and then Orchid Dove on the back end.
Owl is not a combo with abundance.
Well, you can use Owl still to your advantage.
It's like then the Owl's only good in round 1. Like it does slowly kill them, I guess, but like it loses so much value when you make them draw extra cards.
Sure. I think that what I look at with Owl is you got to get those cards out of hand somehow. And I'm not sure how you're going to do that outside of Owl.
But you don't. Like, when you're playing Abundance, you don't actually have to make them discard their hand. You just have to get their deck to 0. That's why the Owl is not a combo. Like, because in round 1, that means you have to go Owl, Owl, activate Owl, then Abundance, and that's not usually how the Abundance decks want to work. They want to go Abundance, Abundance as their first
I wonder about, like, Cobra with... a Cobra with Captivate and Royal Charm. And then just, like... from that point, like, I don't know what your fourth book is. They're probably just Raven, but then you just on Ally.
Now you're just describing a control deck. It's not a mill deck.
Yeah.
It'll probably mill them just fine, but, like...
Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, for another day, another night. It's late.
Yeah.
We're going to call it a night here. Neil, thanks for the game, man. Good luck in your round 6. Obviously, we'll talk more about that matchup.
Yeah, I'll play it for fun. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to play my round 6 for fun, too, because I just enjoy this deck. Every time I put it down, I'm excited to play it. So, we'll be back Thursday night with round... I think it's tonight the end of the rounds already? Is it the night?
I think this was the end of it, because we had to get yours in, like...
We had to get ours in tonight.
You got back from
Right.
vacation.
Yep, so... It is. Tonight is at midnight. So we've got about an hour and a half for the final rounds to get in. I'll check and see. Maybe everybody's already reported. What was our blood points? What did you have, 13?
I don't know.
I forgot. Anybody remember?
Check the tape.
Take it to the tape. I can look on the VOD too.
It was like 12 or 13. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'll go back and check it. 12 is what Carl said.
Yeah, it doesn't actually matter, so you can put in 12.
Yeah.
I don't care if I lose a ranking position from like 20th to 21st or whatever.
Oh man, come on. He's salty, chat. You hear the salt in his voice right now.
I'm not salty. I thought that game was really fun.
I did too.
I admit that when I was so hyped to draw the Dispel off of my Concentrate, and then you Dispelled me right back, then I was like, oh, well, whatever. And you're like, we had the same chance to draw it. And I was like, I drew 4 more cards than you already. Like,
okay. Yeah, you're right.
You have 10 cards left in your deck, and
I honestly hadn't...
And the 5 cards that you needed to draw to win the game easily, I mean, you essentially were going to win anyway, but, like, 5 of your top 20 were Concentration, Shadowhound, Dispel. Like,
yeah,
and the Dispel just, like, I was like, I'm not going to get salty. I'm not going to get mad that he got round 1 double focus and round 2 triple focus on both. I'm not going to get mad. And then you Dispelled me back, and then I got mad. Like, I was just like, this is it. Yeah, I wasn't even going to win the game off of it. I just wanted to, like, pretend like I was doing something.
All right, man. Well, everybody, thank you for spending a great evening with us. It was a ton of fun having you. Thanks again to German and Carl for doing the bus takeover. Hopefully they didn't drive us too far off the rails. I have no idea what they said right now, so I guess we'll find out.
I'm excited to watch the commentary for sure.
Me too. So we will see you all Thursday night for the final round of Swiss. I can't believe it's here already. This season has gone fast.
Yeah. Everybody come sign up to be on stream.
Yeah, if you've not been on stream and you want to be on stream to get your raffle ticket prizes, you got one more chance. And
if you can't play on stream, then it's your job to go send a DM or text message or whatever to Nick to make him get on stream.
That's right. Yep. Go bug Nick.
Just bother him until he hates us. Like,
please don't do that. Please don't. Wait, I'm still holding out hope that at some point they might actually give us a card to spoil.
They did one time. Like in one of our like very first streams, they spoiled a few of the cards.
It was a verbal spoiler. It wasn't like physical show the card spoiler. So I'm just crossing fingers for that. Like,
yeah, we got this. He spoiled Emperor Lion on our stream.
That's right.
And he spoiled
Psychic Vampire, right?
No, the Angel.
Reaping Angel.
Reaping Angel. It was because he tried to find ones that had shuffle on them because he was a Shufflebus.
Yeah.
So it was, and what was the other one? There was one more, I thought.
Gosh, I don't remember. That's on our YouTube somewhere too. So, all right. Well, good night, everybody. Carl, German, thank you. We'll see you all Thursday night. Take care. Have fun.